Before returning to the college entrance exam, I became popular in the scientific community. Welcome back, brave explorers of impossible worlds. We are excited to have you here to continue this odyssey together. Before we continue, everything you'll hear is pure fiction, so please don't try to replicate combat techniques at home. This wonderful story in all its rights belong to its brilliant original author. We are only the messengers of entertainment. Want another dose of adventure? Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a single chapter, and if you can't wait, our Patreon has exclusive surprises you'll love. Chapter 126. Criticize it. No, Brother Chang, we're all on the same page, we're all family. We won't bully our own people. Engineer Zun, a master of the art of understanding the times, realized after his shock that his words weren't entirely accurate. He immediately changed his tune. He'd be a fool not to use such exceptionally high-performance materials for his own GATA project. He needed them right away. He couldn't let old Cheng pressure him into submitting a request, then have no way to get back at him. There was no shame in giving in. What was face? It was worthless to throw it away. You've come up with such an amazing material. Old Cheng, you're incredible, Engineer Zun said admiringly, giving a thumbs up. With such superior performance, the domestic aviation industry could take a huge leap forward. His eyes were sharp. Isn't this material good enough for engine blades? Of course, but we have something more suitable for blades. It's for the fuselage. T4 titanium aluminum alloy, highly resistant and highly defensive, the best titanium aluminum alloy. It's also lighter than ordinary fuselage materials, reducing the fuselage's weight and enabling a higher thrust-to-weight ratio and a larger ammunition loadout. Cheng Huinan straightened his back proudly. The old man was incredibly proud. Teacher, you're amazing. I'm going back to study again. Zhang Xiaoming clapped his hands softly, offering his support. He was Cheng Huinan's first disciple, his first student, and 2 years ago, he was elected an academician in the Department of Materials Engineering. Grateful for his teacher's dedicated guidance, Zhang Xiaoming held him in high esteem. Just now, he had quietly stood up and helped Chang Lao activate the projection system. He didn't want to create the impression that they were forming a clique, and since the others who spoke up were all elders and meant no harm, he held back. Seeing his teacher's state, he immediately offered his support. You're congratulating the wrong person. You should be congratulating the amazing junior sister I found for you. Come back and discuss things, but not with me. She's your junior sister, the designer and developer of the new T4 titanium aluminum alloy used on the screens, and the upcoming T5 new single crystal nickel iron alloy blade material, Wu Tong. Wu Tong? The child of the recently renowned prover of the Zhou, twin prime, and Pulanak conjectures? And they have the same name, Yan Shunli, head of the Mathematical Statistics and Analysis Department at the Aviation Group and a member of the Chinese Academy of Sciences, exclaimed in surprise. Mathematicians have become incredibly sensitive to this name lately. After all, not everyone can deliver an hour-long presentation at the just concluded Hydra International Congress of Mathematicians, at the level of a world-class scholar. His close friend, Ming En, happened to be a representative of the Chinese Academy of Sciences and was present at the event. Just now, he had shared his excitement with him. Of course, it's this kid. Peking University only has this one, Wu Tong. Inspired at the International Congress of Mathematicians in Hydra, she transformed the materials problem into a mathematical one. Combining this with dynamics, she developed a mathematical model for the T4 titanium aluminum alloy. After returning, Professor Pan from Peking University's School of Mathematics and I contacted her, and she came to my institute for experimental verification. I initially thought it was just a whim, but when she ran the simulations, the material data was astonishing, and the actual results even surpassed the simulations, Cheng Huinan said with deep emotion. Fortunately, he didn't have an empiricist streak. If he had blocked the path of such a brilliant kid, and lost such a groundbreaking new aviation material, he would be a sinner for China. And then you, Cheng, got a huge advantage, taking advantage of her lack of knowledge to lure her into your business? And you're so proud of her, as if you'd personally taught her everything? The attendees, watching Professor Chang's face of pride, couldn't help but internalize their criticism. But she held a powerful weapon in her hands, and even the most impassioned engineer Zun was speechless. As if anticipating their inner complaints, Cheng Huinan continued proudly, I also said that I'm ashamed to be this child's teacher. However, Wu Tong insisted and has great respect for me, So I had no choice but to lick my pride and accept my position, reluctantly guiding the child through the basics of material science and helping her to pave the way for the material world. So what if the people present were unhappy and grumbling? Who made him have such a good disciple like Wu Tong? They had been constantly provoking him before. Today, he was returning the favor. There would be many more times in the future when these people would be filled with envy and resentment. Of course, Cheng Huinan didn't stop at showing off. He immediately got to the point and began to introduce the material properties, prospects, and current technological status of the T4 titanium aluminum alloy to the attendees. Then, he began to introduce the T5 blade material and the expected data. With this material, their WS-15 will be even more powerful. Combined with the Wu Tong's optimized parameters, they can truly eliminate the core problem of China's fighter jets. Finally, incorporating Lu Xiao's revised and refined fighter design, their Chinese Divine Eagle will possess a stable, world-leading, beyond visual range strike capability, safeguarding their complete control of Chinese airspace and protecting the integrity of China's blue skies. Great, most of the attendees were knowledgeable, not material experts, but aviation professionals, and they were incredibly sensitive to this data. This material is genuine. Our fighter's thrust will increase by at least a few percentage points. The fuselage material is high quality and lightweight, and the engine blade material has even superior performance. Surpassing the so-called Raptor from the other side is a piece of cake. Liu Cheng, your son did a great job this time, Academician Lu, Engineer Zun, and the others applauded. For the birth of such a groundbreaking material, what's wrong with letting Cheng Huinan gloat for a while? After all, Liu Cheng had a keen eye and was incredibly lucky to have secured such an exceptional disciple. One of Wu's senior disciples is Zhang Xiaoming, present here, a newly elected member of the Chinese Academy of Engineering. The younger disciple is already a world-leading mathematician and a shining example of materials science. He's on track to becoming a member of both the Chinese Academy of Engineering and the Chinese Academy of Engineering. His slew of talented students is truly enviable. Approve it, Mr. Lin. This must be approved. We used to spend hundreds of millions or even billions on materials. But it was often wasted and uncertain. Now Wu Tong and Elder Cheng have demonstrated a new material, and the data is astonishing. The second blade material has a strong chance of success, solving our engine's major heart disease problem. 300 million is nothing, we'll have to pursue to 3 billion. Even if we have to tighten our belts this year, as long as we can get these two materials into production, it will be a major success. As for the internal reference, I'll be the first to sign. Engineer Zun raised his hand. If these two materials were truly available, his H-20 would no longer remain a mere paper preview, they could become a reality. A fully implemented project, and soon take to the skies. Chapter 127 Rushing to the Championship. Approve it, General Lin. We all agree, faced with a national weapon, with such superior material data, no one would hold back. Even if they competed, so what? They were all single-mindedly committed to the betterment of this country. Is 300 million enough? If not, take this opportunity to ask for more. Engineer Zun looked at Elder Cheng eagerly, eager to see how much he would contribute. So, once the material was produced, could he get priority access to it, so it could be used on the bomber he'd always dreamed of? This is enough for the initial project startup funds. Let's build the framework and industrialize the material preparation. From there, it'll be up to the government to decide who will be responsible. Such a new, secret material must not be left in private hands. They were asking for funding for research and development for the nation's prosperity, not just to grab a few for themselves. Old Cheng, you and your kids need to hurry up. Tell us any difficulties you have. We won't stand idly by. Get the material ready. We're all waiting for your help. Engineer Zun rubbed his hands in anticipation. The T5 blade material is still under development, and the T4 titanium aluminum alloy needs some finishing, but it's ready for production. They're not greedy. They can get the T5 after it's developed, but shouldn't they hurry up and produce the T4 titanium aluminum alloy so they can use it for aircraft? They're not picky. The performance of T4 titanium aluminum alloy is good enough for aircraft, and even more than enough for blades. They'll test the T4 material first to see if it performs well, leaving room for the switch to T5. If Old Cheng can get things done more smoothly, who knows, they might be able to achieve a double victory. I can hear what you're up to from 10 miles away. Old Cheng pointed at Engineer Zun with a sullen look. He's the one who's the most aggressive, the one who gives in the fastest. However, this time, Zhang Dapao, has to give way. Lu Xiao is even more aggressive than him, already connecting with a military factory. I'm afraid he'll haul the material back to the Zizhao Research Institute as soon as it's off the production line. Zhang Dapao's speed depends on who he's competing with. He was also the most eager to request materials, never arguing with Zhang Dapao. Our speed depends on how quickly General Manager Lin approves funding. Old Chang threw his hands up. Without funding, materials, and equipment, he wasn't ready to handpick them. Old Z, our project team might need your support with single crystal technology. Old Chang turned to another top expert across the way, Z Xinli, a fellow senior academician of the Chinese Academy of Engineering. The T5 blade material preparation process would require his expertise, and he needed to consult with him and ask for his help. He had already made an appointment for Wu Tong. No problem, call me anytime. Z Xinli nodded without hesitation. It would be an honor for him. 3 days, Old Chang, give me 3 days. I'll monitor the process and get the funding approved as soon as possible, Lin's Hemming promised with a wry smile. These bigwigs were incredibly impatient. No matter how much he compressed the process, he'd have to give him at least 3 days to get everything done. The funds were not his personal funds, so they could not be allocated at will. Especially, such a large amount of funds had to be reported to the higher-ups. And everything had to be explained clearly for approval. Boss Lin, thank you for your hard work. After the matter was settled, the atmosphere among the group suddenly became relaxed, and Cheng Lao became the focus of everyone's attention. Come on, Cheng Lao, we just happened to meet, let's have a good chat. How did you lure the pillar of your School of Mathematics of Peking University to work on materials? Did those protective people in your School of Mathematics give you a hard time? Now they were in the mood to pay attention to other things. Cheng Lao was good, his poaching skills were just right. They thought that the first to poach the pearl of the School of Mathematics of Peking University, besides other jealous universities, would be the School of Physics of Peking University. After all, there was a precedent back then. Lu Xiao almost stepped into the School of Mathematics, but was finally lured away by the School of Physics. Haha, it's all out of interest, just out of interest. Could Cheng Lao say that he had been busy with experiments and project funding these past 2 days, and hadn't had time to deal with the School of Mathematics? Hiding a broken arm in his sleeve, the bloody fights between the various colleges of Peking University were their own business, and had nothing to do with those who were trying to laugh at them. To the outside world, they were all Peking University people, and they would never give these old guys a chance to laugh at them. Thinking of the storm he would face when he returned, Cheng Huinan didn't feel a headache, but instead felt high-spirited. No matter how many crusades he faced, Wu Tong had been snatched away by him, and he wasn't a hegemon who would not let Wu Tong merge with mathematics. What a pity it was to waste the little apprentice's world-class talent and foundation in mathematics. Little did they know that at this moment, several senior figures in the School of Mathematics of Peking University, led by Pan Wenhua, were furious and were thinking about how to settle the score with him. That shameless old man Cheng hid things secretly and tricked Wu Tong into becoming his teacher. Our School of Mathematics is full of talented people, how could you be so attentive? Thinking of the news Wu Tong reported to them, Pan Wenhua was heartbroken. If he had known that it was a sheep walking into a tiger's mouth, he would never have let Wu Tong go to old man Cheng's laboratory alone. How could she become old man Cheng's teacher so easily? What could old man Cheng teach her? She only let old man Cheng take advantage of her. That's right. Who in our School of Mathematics doesn't want to be Wu Tong's teacher, but who proposed it? Who dares to delay the child and become the child's teacher with such a shameless face? Zhou Wenping covered his heart. He was so heartbroken. When he first saw Wu Tong's paper, he had the urge to accept Wu Tong as his disciple. But the child's rise was too fast, and he was afraid of delaying the child, so he didn't make a move. Now old man Cheng has taken the lead. He has lost a lot because he can't be called a teacher by Wu Tong in a legitimate way. I should have had the nerve to ask Wu Tong if he wanted me as my mentor. He would have given me his all. No, I have to settle accounts with old man Cheng. Why should old man Cheng take advantage of her talented mathematics department? Pan Wenhua said, standing up and heading out. He was going to settle accounts with old man Cheng. Zhou Wenping and others, who had normally tried to dissuade him, now remained silent, supporting the decision. They were there to cheer him on, not leaving the dean alone. All of this had started with Wu Tong's morning call. Wu Tong felt that as a student in the mathematics department, she had to inform the head of the School of Materials Science and Engineering about her studies. September 1st was the official start date for school. Wu Tong, always waking up early to practice in the morning light, had deeply experienced the benefits of the Chaoyangziki method. Her perseverance and accumulation of sufficient energy gave her the capital for her unbridled deductions. Chapter 128 Strict Prevention. The lab was temporarily unavailable, so Wu Tong, after reporting her application to Dean Pan, put it aside and headed to the Department of Mathematics at the Faculty of Mathematics. Although the university had granted her an exception, exempting her from the class schedule and assessments, she still had to check out the doors, at least knowing which way her classroom door opened, fulfilling her student responsibilities. Always a well-behaved student, Wu Tong, when not having special tasks or continuous research, would adapt to the absence of classes. The first class of the 2010 Department of Mathematics at Peking University was now nearly complete. Those who managed to get into the Department of Mathematics at Peking University were generally exceptionally talented, with top and second place scores in the college entrance exams commonplace. A significant number also received recommended admissions through competitions and through the Strong Foundation program, creating a truly thriving university. This year's Peking University admissions were a resounding success, and with Wu Tong as a living star, they were at the forefront of all provinces. It's safe to say that unless someone had a strong desire, everyone who could be admitted did. The Department of Mathematics was particularly popular this year, bar none. At this moment, everyone had just finished their registration and arrived at university, and everything was still new. Some were chatting with each other, some were roommates, some went to the same school, and some, the outgoing and socially inclined, were already making new friends. Of course, the hottest topic right now was whether the talented students from their class would be joining them. However, everyone thought this was unlikely. My God had reached such a height that it was unattainable for them, reaching the heights they had admired their entire lives. It would be strange if the school didn't make special arrangements and allow him to attend classes with them. Thinking about this, they couldn't help but look at the 3 emo gold medalists in their class. Did they know the details? Although they had the misfortune of being in the same class as My God this year, and My God's appearance had dramatically widened the gap, it was undeniable that these 3 emo gold medalists were top-tier academic figures. As for My God, he had already ascended to divine status, no longer belonging to the ranks of the mortal world. Guo Jianchen, Zhang Bibai, and Nai Peng, the 3 of them decided to choose the Department of Mathematics and determine their future goals, focusing on mathematical research. Su Hicken, because of his preference, finally chose the Yao class of Huiking across the street, and will major in computer science in the future. In terms of computers, Huiking is still more superior. Chu Ziasheng received an invitation from the target school and went abroad for further studies. It can be said that because of the impact of Wu Shen, they have grown rapidly, determined their firm goals for the future, and will work hard for them. This summer vacation, they imagined relaxing, but they did not dare to slack off. They are already so far behind Wu Shen, and they still have to study the ultimate academic subjects that the smartest people in the world will choose to specialize in. If they don't work hard, they will really be mediocre. Wu Shen, will you come today? When their classmates glanced at them. The 3 of them were also whispering to communicate. I forwarded the class notice to Wushan. I guess it depends on Wushan's research. Based on Wushan's usual personality, she'll probably come if she's not in a research mood. If not, then there's no chance. Zhang Bibai spread her hands. When they entered the school, Wushan was still in Hydra attending the International Congress of Mathematicians. She was far away abroad, so she didn't bother to disturb her right away. In the past 2 days, some people have come to the class to check in or study, but there's still no sign of Wu Tong. They think there's a high possibility that Wushan has entered an unspeakable research state again, so they didn't dare to disturb her. Only Zhang Bibai had just forwarded the notice in the class group. International Congress of Mathematicians, a 1-hour report. As expected, the Earth can no longer contain Wushan's magical powers. Sprinting towards the Earth and heading into the universe, I guess the Sea of Stars will be my target return, Guo Jianchen joked with a smile. His words were relatively relaxed. After spending time together during the emo training camp, everyone knew Wu Tong's personality. He was incredibly approachable. Although their academic background was vastly different from Wu Shen's, they cherished their friendship and didn't want to let any estrangement stand between them. As they were talking, Guo Jianchen's peripheral vision, which had casually flickered to the corner outside the door, suddenly froze in place, and he couldn't help but smile. Huh? It's Wu Xin. The god has arrived. As Wu Tong entered the classroom, surprise spread from front to back. This god had actually arrived? Wu Xin, this way, this way. Zhang Bibai beckoned with a smile, urging Guo Jianchen to move aside, freeing up a seat. She wanted to sit with Wu Xin, so Guo could move aside. Bibai, Wu Tong chuckled, following Zhang Bibai's invitation and moving over to take a seat. Guo Jianchen, Nai Peng, long time no see. Wu Tong was delighted to see these familiar faces again. The bond they shared as they fought together instantly erased the distance between them, bringing them back to the atmosphere of their former training camp. How was your summer vacation? She'd barely been idle that summer, and hadn't even had time to contact them to ask how they were doing. Not bad, but certainly nothing compared to the brilliance of our god shining internationally. The thought that they'd only been back for less than 2 weeks, and our god had already proven the Polygnat conjecture, was astonishing. No longer afraid to slack off, they returned to the sprinting state they'd been sprinting for the emo, diligently studying their university textbooks in advance, without a single slack or distraction. Is this god really enrolled in the class? Wow! I'm so close to our god, what a blessing. We're in the same classroom, in the same class, and classmates with our god. Enrolling in Peking University was truly the best decision of my life. It was worth it, as Wu Tong, Guo Jianchen, and the others reminisced about their long-awaited separation. The rest of the class erupted in excitement. Although the reserved nature of Peking University students prevents them from frantically surrounding their idols, the occasional sneak peeks at them make the excitement boil over in the classroom. When Chen Tao, the counselor for the 10th Mathematics Department Class 1, stepped into the classroom, he felt the enthusiasm and excitement in the class. Just as he was about to say, "The students are so enthusiastic, Peking University welcomes you," he suddenly saw Wu Tong standing in a prominent position. Oh, it turned out to be this god who had arrived. Naturally, the atmosphere in the classroom became heated. This was no surprise. As a doctoral student sent by his advisor to serve as a counselor, wasn't he also excited when he saw this person? Originally, ordinary mathematics classes didn't need him to be in charge. His own advisor sent him here just to make it easier for him to take care of this god. Whether it was the leaders of the School of Mathematics or the other instructors below them, they all consider this god as precious as their own eyes. Especially after the incident of my god reporting that he had taken Cheng Lao as his teacher in the School of Material Science and taking a concurrent degree in Material Science, they had to strictly guard against any shameless outsiders trying to abduct the precious gem of the School of Mathematics. Before he came to the class, teacher Zhou Wenping had repeatedly warned him against this. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 129, Behaving Cutely. Hello, students. Congratulations on officially joining Peking University. I'm your counselor, Chen Tao. I'm a doctoral student and your senior. Chen Tao walked up to the podium and introduced himself. He turned and quickly wrote his name and a series of numbers on the blackboard. Here's my contact information. You can contact me if you need anything, of course. I believe that we mathematicians are all highly qualified and self-sufficient. You probably won't need me much, so don't hold back. Aside from the key target, Wuxian, everyone else can do their job conscientiously, but don't treat him like a nanny. Otherwise, both his hairline and his academic career will be in jeopardy. The atmosphere in our class was so lively just now. I understand. It's Wuxian who's here, right? Come on, Wuxian, how about you come and say a few words? Chen Tao thoughtfully sent the class information to Wu Tong, letting her feel included, without expecting her to come in person. However, Wuxian came respectfully, which made him feel doubly honored. Someone so talented and yet so approachable and without the slightest bit of airs is truly admirable. Counselor, you're joking. Just call me Wu Tong. I'm just like you, a fellow student on the mathematical path. I hope you'll brave the wind and waves and persevere in your pursuit of mathematics. Suddenly called upon, Wu Tong was startled and stood up to offer a blessing. Wu Tong is setting an example for everyone. Everyone, please introduce yourselves so we can get to know each other. We're all in this together. It would be embarrassing to not be able to recognize your classmates' names outside the classroom. By the way, those of you interested in running for class leader, please be brave and show yourselves to get votes. Chen Tao livened up the atmosphere and moved on to the next step. Don't look at Wu Tong. She has her research commitments and won't be able to take care of the class much anymore. Wu Tong's popularity forced Chen Tao to give a rather daunting warning. He had confirmed with Wu Tong that she had no intention of running for class leader. For now, he would be the villain. Getting to know each other, electing class leaders, various admissions precautions, the timing of the opening ceremony, and finally, the military training that most students found daunting. Military training at Shengjing University is truly rigorous, with real soldiers serving as instructors and overseeing the training. For countless years, apathetic seniors have endured this nearly excruciating headache. Now, it's about to hit them. Many couldn't help but grimace, clearly those who aren't into exercise. Of course, there are also those who have a balanced development in moral, intellectual, physical, aesthetic, and labor skills, and are eager to try military training. It all comes down to personal preference. Wu Tong had no objection to the training. Her regular morning exercises had laid a solid foundation for her, and since she was somewhat immune to the cold and heat, the scorching sun had no significant impact on her. Military training wasn't an insurmountable challenge for her. However, her ability to fully participate in the training depended on how quickly funding from the materials lab was approved. If she missed the deadline, she might have to make some special arrangements, forcing military training to take a back seat to her project. Priorities were prioritized, and the new materials research and development project clearly took precedence over military training. Wu Tong didn't rush to express his opinion until things were finalized. He quietly sat in the classroom, listening to his classmates introduce themselves, getting to know his classmates, and observing the class leader selection process. He would consult with a teacher if necessary. Guo Jiajun, known for his active personality and his achievements as a world-leading emo gold medalist, outperformed the competition and successfully ran for class monitor. Zhang Bibi and Nai Peng also held positions. Their class was truly a talented class, with a small number of students, and with so many top students competing for the top spot, most people secured class positions, with only a few focused on their studies, not participating. Many students engaged in a variety of activities, showcasing their skills and talents, which impressed the other high school students and Wu Tong. These students were all top students, possessing numerous talents and skills beyond their academic performance. They were truly far from being nerdy. Wu Tong applauded sincerely, filled with admiration for such youthful energy. This was something she had never imagined would be so wonderful. However, she also had no regrets about her choice. Studying, researching, and tackling unsolved mysteries were also her joy. The next day, Wu Tong didn't bother to stick to her class schedule. Repeating the initial lecture seemed a waste of time. She went to the library and found a large collection of books on fluid mechanics and the NS equations, which she carefully studied. Once you set a goal, you must achieve it step by step, starting with the basics and laying the foundation. Eventually, you'll reach the top of the building. Are you planning to study the NS equations? Li Yishan, finding Wu Tong easily in the library or the dormitory, asked curiously when he saw the paper she was flipping through. It would be a shame if Wu Tong didn't continue her research in number theory. However, Li Yishan wasn't worried about Wu Tong abandoning her research. With her talent and current level of skill, he was confident she could achieve results in anything she pursued. Seeing Wu Tong's continued dedication to mathematics brought a sudden sense of relief to Li Yishan. He had personally brought Wu Tong to Chang Lao's research institute, but he hadn't accompanied him, and Chang Lao had kidnapped Wu Tong. It was outrageous. The dean, Professor Zhou, and others approached, only to be dismissed by Chang Lao, saying it was a confidentiality mission. It was like a balloon inflated, pushed back again, then deflated with a needle. Confidentiality missions involved state secrets, so they couldn't pry into them. They all understood the rules. It was precisely this understanding that made them even more irritated. They didn't blame Wu Tong for his outstanding performance and his contributions to the country. They were even proud that Wu Tong was now taking on such a crucial role in a confidential project. Otherwise, Chang Lao wouldn't have kept a single word secret. They were simply furious that Chang Lao had taken advantage of them. It was outrageous. After the discussion, Li Yishan was sent to check on Wu Tong, ensuring he didn't become so absorbed in the material that he abandoned his mathematical career. Let's build the foundation first. I've been learning about this topic for a while now. I'll start working on it later when I have an idea. I'm also trying my hand at number theory, so let's work on it simultaneously. Wu Tong sat by the window, the sun filtering through the shaded canopy of trees, casting a dappled glow. Although she'd been putting considerable effort into the materials lately, she hadn't forgotten her roots. Mathematics is a field she'd never give up on. Time is like water in a sponge, squeeze it out evenly, and juggle everything. She just needed to make the most of it. While working on multiple fronts can be arduous, the satisfaction of learning is truly joyful. Chapter 130 Ceremony. The love for your knitting, 1,000 knots, asks the young people's hearts, the weaning river beneath their eyes, the yellow river moon in their hearts. On September 3rd, Shanghai University held its 2010 opening ceremony on the east field of the first gymnasium, witnessing the sacred moment when freshmen become Shanghai University students. At 8:30 a.m., the majestic and powerful national anthem kicked off the opening ceremony. The president, vice president, and other senior leaders of Shanghai University were all in attendance. The president of Shanghai University took the stage to deliver his speech. First, on behalf of Shanghai University, I would like to extend my warmest congratulations to each and every new student on their arrival and participation in Shanghai University's great journey to become a world-class university. All Shanghai University students are the masters of the new era and must embrace a sense of ownership. First, learn to be inclusive and cultivate a mindset like Mount Tai, which does not yield to soil, or the ocean, which does not discriminate against small streams. Be humble, prudent, and eager to learn. Second, learn to survive and establish the concept of harmonious coexistence between people and society. Following the principal's speech, other leaders and outstanding freshmen spoke. The school contacted Wu Tong to speak on behalf of the freshmen. She is unrivaled among the 10th freshman class, and she is a figurehead in the eyes of many freshmen, and even across the country. Having Wu Tong speak was the perfect inspiration for the freshmen. At 10:30 a.m., at the host's invitation, Wu Tong stepped onto the podium under the watchful eyes of the audience. A large screen, occupying almost the entire rostrum, displayed Wu Tong's photo and a text highlighting her mathematical achievements. Wu Tong, a 2010 freshman in the Department of Mathematics, Class 1, School of Mathematics, achieved a perfect score on the EMO and the National College Entrance Examination. She has used innovative methods to solve world-renowned mathematical problems such as the Joe conjecture, the twin prime conjecture, and the Polignac conjecture, and developed a method for proving infinite groups. She was invited to give a 1-hour presentation at the 26th International Congress of Mathematicians. Seeing the lines of text on the screen, the freshmen and teachers in the audience couldn't help but exclaim in amazement. Seeing Wu Tong's achievements again, they were still dumbfounded. Was this an introduction to freshmen? Why did they feel that this was the resume of an academician of the Chinese Academy of Sciences who needed a grand reception from Peking University? Any one of these items alone would be enough for an ordinary scholar to live on for a lifetime, and she still set new records, one after another. Most importantly, she just turned 17, and these were all the brilliance she created when she was 16. Comparing people is really scary. In the golden autumn of September, the sweet fragrance of osmanthus fills the air. Wu Mingboy welcomes us, a group of young students full of passion and longing, with a calm and tolerant attitude. I am honored to be invited by the school to speak here on behalf of this class of freshmen. Like you, I worked day and night to get into the school of my dreams. Every contribution we made has now turned into fruitful results, and we should be proud. Number theory is the first subject I came into contact with. Interest is the best teacher. My little success is inseparable from the help of the school and teachers. Thank you Peking University for the open support platform. Entering Peking University is not only an honor. We will look up at the stars and keep our feet on the ground with expectations, curiosity, pride and longing. Inherit Peking University's diligent, rigorous, pragmatic and innovative style of study. Keep forging ahead, never forget your original intention, and continue to devote yourself to focused learning for your goals, and once again reap the rich fruits that belong to you. Finally, I wish you all can get what you want. Remember your mission and create glory again. I would like to encourage you all, as speeches are not Wu Tong's forte. Wu Tong simply expressed her gratitude for her efforts this year in simple language and with sincere feelings, and also sent her best wishes to many freshmen of the same class. Over the past year, she thanked the appearance of the Enlightenment steel, which made her wake up in time and gave her the ability to concentrate without distraction. She also thanked herself for her perseverance and unremitting efforts. Step by step, she has come to the present day, and the world has opened a new door to her. She is even more looking forward to and joyfully welcoming the infinitely broad future. After Wu Tong finished speaking, thunderous applause broke out from the audience. Wu Tong, who was standing on the stage, bowed slightly. When he was about to leave, Zhou Wenping stepped forward on behalf of the School of Mathematics. Wu Tong, please stay. Next, we are going to have a special award ceremony, and the protagonist is of course your god. That's the title, right? I also follow the new era and new concepts. Zhou Wenping greeted Wu Tong with a smile, adjusted the microphone, and began his speech. Ever since April, when Associate Professor Li Yishan brought Wu Tong to the university and she astonished me with her proof of the Zhou conjecture, I've been in a constant state of amazement. If I had to find a word to describe it, I think stunning wouldn't be enough. She broke the twin prime conjecture at the EMO, and presented the proof of the Polignac conjecture at the International Congress of Mathematicians. She's achieved what we once dreamed of but couldn't. Her scientific achievements have surpassed many professors, even myself. I'm delighted that Peking University has welcomed such a talented student. She's already at the level of a world-class scholar. In the future, Peking University welcomes her as one of the youngest professors in its history. In recognition of this student who has brought such great honor to the university and for Wu Tong's tremendous contributions, the university is hereby awarding her a 3 million yuan scholarship and housing in Yunnan as a reward. Other students and colleagues should also emulate Wu Tong. The university eagerly awaits the rise of every outstanding student and faculty member. Scholarships are waiting for you to apply. The host of the ceremony presented a large plastic plate of an enlarged check, and the president of Peking University and the dean of the School of Mathematics, Pan Wenhua, came on stage to present the award to Wu Tong. While the students and teachers in the audience applauded excitedly, they couldn't help but glance at the last sentence Zhou Wenping added. It's so exciting to wait for them to mention it, but Professor Zhou, think about it, it's unrealistic. In the 5,000 years of Chinese history, there has only been such a Wu Tong in the 60 years since the founding of the People's Republic of China. Such achievements are achievable if they want to do them. You think too highly of them. As for the amount of the bonus, Wu Tong thought it was an addition to the admission bonus and didn't think much about it. After she got off the stage, she found that there was a new account information on her mobile phone. It seemed that there was 1 million more than expected. Was it a wrong number? It happened that she retreated to the backstage, and Dean Pan, Professor Zhou and others were around her. She couldn't help but report the matter in her low voice. That's right, classmate Wu Tong, thank you for your contribution to the country. The president of Peking University was also nearby, nodding to Wu Tong with a smile, his words a double entendre. The university had added a major national key project, and it was impossible for him, the president, to not hear about it. The additional 1 million was merely a reward given to Wu Tong for his great contribution through the channels of Peking University. Chapter 131 Entrustment. Due to confidentiality measures, Wu Tong couldn't enjoy the public accolades, but the nation wouldn't treat any citizen who contributed to the nation unfairly. This was their first meeting, but he believed there would be more opportunities in the future. He would be the top talent from their university, the pride of their university. Wu Tong, is the opening ceremony over? Our project was successful, the funding has been approved, and it's in the account. Wu Tong's phone vibrated. Cheng, addressing him vaguely, conveyed his message clearly. Come to the lab. Okay, professor, I'll be right there. The opening ceremony was already drawing to a close. Wu Tong apologized to the faculty and rushed to the materials lab. Teacher, senior brother Ruan. He swiped his card to enter the lab and went to Cheng's office first. Cheng and Ruan Chengsu were both there. The funding has arrived, Wu Tong, come and check it out. This was the new work computer the confidentiality team had equipped Wu Tong with. All connections could be handled on this proprietary system, a rigidly reinforced confidentiality system that ensured Wu Tong's research and consulting work would not be leaked. Teacher, I'm responsible for material preparation, process development, and funding arrangements. I'll need your help overseeing them, as I'm not very good at these things. Wu Tong spoke bluntly, clearly understanding her position. She might have some achievements in mathematics and even material science, But she had no experience managing a project of this magnitude. No one is perfect, it's impossible for her to take on such a large task and handle it with ease. Her strengths lie solely in learning and research. That's what an old man like me should do. Just focus on your research. I'll help you with the chores. If you need any equipment, materials, or even personnel, just tell me and I'll arrange them. Cheng Huinan agreed immediately. As an old man, he had made no contribution to the development of new materials, but helping his young apprentice with these chores, allowing her to focus on her research, was a way for him to make use of his remaining energy. Wu Tong logged into the specially registered internal communications system, a system built by Lu Xiao. Since she became the project leader, she naturally had an encrypted account. As soon as she logged into the system, a message popped up from Lu Xiao. The wind tunnel data has been compiled. The refined aircraft model data has perfectly met my expectations. We are now entering the actual airframe production process. Thank you, Wu Tong. He pursued perfection with utmost zeal, and finally, together with Wu Tong, he had deduced the final direction for improvement and refinement, achieving the data he had hoped for, allowing the future Chinese Eagle to finally enter the world's top ranks in terms of design. It was very likely to surpass all other fighter designs and become a world-class fighter. The second message came from Xi'an Aircraft Industrial Corporation's chief engineer, Yang Wei. Thank you, Wu Tong. We have verified that some of the optimized engine parameters are effective. For other parameters, we are currently working hard to produce new core engine components after optimizing the data and retesting them. I will provide you with new progress and data as soon as possible. Wu Tong was delighted. The data she had painstakingly derived that day was truly helpful and would truly advance the Chinese Eagle's soaring flight. Teacher Lu and Chief Engineer Yang must have worked tirelessly to produce so much data in just 3 or 4 days, and she couldn't afford to be left behind. Wu Tong inserted her USB drive into her computer and began uploading and exporting data. She had once again deduced and refined the T4 material preparation process, creating parameters that were practical for industrial production. This preparation process parameter document was sent to Lu Xiao, who forwarded it to Fungus Engineering Plant 113 for formal production. Initial production costs would be allocated through her, along with a teacher. He would personally oversee the project. He expected fuselage material production to keep pace with fighter jet production, allowing the use of new materials for the fuselage. Wu Tong messaged Engineer Yang with admiration, "I'll complete the blade material preparation as soon as possible," ensuring that the production of the new material would catch up with the preparation process, and using the new blade material would completely transform the WS-15. As Wu Tong read the message, Cheng Huinan and Ruan Chengsa tacitly avoided the topic. When Wu Tong paused, Cheng Huinan continued, "I've secured a batch of materials from the aviation department, and the lab materials are ready." A seasoned expert in materials, he knew exactly how to prepare the work as quickly as possible. The aviation group finally reimbursed his laboratory's funds for the T4 titanium aluminum alloy preparation. He figured it was better to exploit the existing resources than to exploit the new ones, and since time was short and they had a comprehensive supply of materials, he transferred a batch of experimental materials from there. If they were to pay, they could simply pay from their funds, which would be much more thorough and efficient than waiting for funds to arrive and then ordering the materials from the materials company. With the new materials as the top priority, Lin's Hemming had no choice but to let him make the arrangements. Wu Tong entrusted him with this task, and Cheng Huinan dedicated himself to paving the way for his apprentice. He was in charge of the overall project management, ensuring a speedy and flawless process. The laboratory equipment has been thoroughly inspected and confirmed to be correct. Experiments can begin immediately. The single crystal directional solidification equipment has been loaned to the lab, and academician Z will arrive in half an hour, Ruan Chengsa meticulously reported on their preparations. From now on, he would be solely devoted to his junior sister. For the sake of his bright future, why not show his worth now? Waiting to be replaced? How many people would want to take his place in the future? The closer you are to the water, the more likely you are to get the moon. Thank you for your hard work, teacher and senior brother. Let's start the experiment. Wu Tong nodded, thanked the two, and walked to the laboratory together. Wu Tong has not been idle these days. The model of T5 single crystal nickel iron alloy material has been transformed from a manuscript into detailed model data. Now it is directly input into the computer simulation system to start data simulation. As expected, the high performance appeared on the display screen when academician Z arrived at the laboratory. This time, they applied for a supercomputing port, which is much more efficient than the computing power of the previous laboratory computer, and the time to produce results is naturally greatly saved. Good. High temperature resistant, corrosion resistant, lightweight, high strength, creep resistance. Academician Z looked at the simulation data on the screen, his eyes lit up, and he exclaimed excitedly. This is excellence that composite materials cannot achieve, and it is lower in cost and easier to maintain than composite materials. It's great. If we use this material on our engine blades, it will be like giving them wings to fly. Let's get to work. Get to work. Wu Tong, you take the lead and I will fully cooperate. The future of our country really depends on young people like you. Academician Z rubbed his hands together, but there was no Academician Z here today, only an ordinary experimental participant. Chapter 132 Dream. At the discussion meeting, based on the superior performance of the T4 titanium aluminum alloy, they predicted that the T5 blade would perform equally well. However, the real-life simulation data was undoubtedly even more impactful, making him eager to immediately prepare the material, test it on the tester, and verify the actual material data. Cheng Huinan was equally eager. Everything was in place, all that was left was to begin work. Cheng Su, get the personnel in place. I can't wait either, teacher. Academician Z, let's begin the experiment. Wu Tong nodded confidently. The group entered the laboratory and began working through the preparation process, step by step. A new material, not to mention its research and design, often requires extensive trial and error before it can be realized. The preparation process itself requires continuous trial and error before it can be fully detailed and ready for production. Arranging for production in just 2 or 3 months is incredibly fast. However, Wu Tong's simulations seem to fast-forward this process, compressing time infinitely and enabling precise specification of the detailed process. However, even Wu Tong could only determine the specific process and parameters, such as temperature and time, before actually conducting the experiment. Only by conducting the experiment, truly being exposed to the experimental process, and controlling it on the spot, can the most accurate data be determined. The clock keeps ticking, the passage of time is ignored by the busy people, the experiment slowly enters the later stage, and the theoretical model is gradually turning into a physical entity. The nickel-iron blade material for their experiment was melted and cast at high temperature in the reactor. Wu Tong combined it with titanium to make up for the shortcomings of the nickel-iron material and achieve the effect of a composite material, so it was named T5. The core technology involved in this experiment is single crystal directional solidification. Single crystal high-temperature alloy technology can eliminate grain boundaries and maintain excellent comprehensive mechanical properties and structural stability at high temperatures, meeting the design requirements of high thrust-to-weight ratio engines. Its manufacturing technology has become the core technology for the preparation of advanced engines. Academician Z is officially a big shot in this field. High-temperature alloys, as alloy materials for single crystal blade specimens, have extremely high requirements for fixed, simple, and multi-step pooling speeds. We conducted numerical simulations of the temperature field, mushy zone, and solidification microstructure growth of single crystal blade specimens, as well as directional solidification experiments. Ultimately, we concluded that low-speed fixed pooling and multi-step pooling speeds can produce alloys with good single crystal integrity, while high-speed fixed pooling and simple step pooling speeds can produce straight crystals in the edge plate. Academician Z carefully explained to Wu Tong the core principles of single crystal technology, key points his team had diligently discovered through repeated experiments and setbacks. But at this moment, Academician Z held nothing back, imparting his knowledge in detail to Wu Tong. He hoped that this limited knowledge, used by such a talented child, would serve as a stepping stone for her to reach greater heights, and also led China Materials to a peak they had yet to reach. With gratitude, Wu Tong diligently absorbed the knowledge, transforming it into his own. Teacher, raise the reactor temperature to 2,400 degrees Celsius, seeing Cheng Huinan set the parameters at 2,000 degrees Celsius, and after receiving more in-depth guidance, Wu Tong further intuited that this wasn't the most accurate temperature. He needed to raise it higher, otherwise it would lead to internal inhomogeneities in the metal, ultimately causing the synthesis to fail. Even if it succeeded, it wouldn't reach the ideal data. Without hesitation, Cheng Huinan followed Wu Tong's instructions. Since Wu Tong was the leader of the experiment, He naturally had to follow his lead and not rely on his empiricism. Only one person could lead the experiment, otherwise, the experiment wouldn't proceed and would be over. This was also a good time to cultivate Wu Tong's control over the laboratory. He had called the child teacher. Regarding materials, his guidance was essentially the basics, but he wanted to be more considerate of the child in other areas. It's ready to be taken out of the furnace. Professor Z, senior brother Ruan, prepare for directional solidification. Wu Tong remained calm, watching the reactor intently. At the perfect time, he coordinated with academician Z to begin operations. He first turned on the furnace, then followed the planned temperature gradient and the directional solidification steps. The key points were all those academician Z had just emphasized. With academician Z's guidance, practically step by step, they successfully addressed every detail, avoiding turbulence within the molten metal during solidification. Using high-speed solidification, they continuously adjusted the withdrawal speed during steady operation, ensuring a stable solidification process. Finally, with meticulous, precise, and steady operation, they removed several pieces of blade material from the solidifier. The metallic blue-black hue, shimmering with subtle silver hues, exuded a mysterious beauty. In a single step, they fashioned a blade shape. Since the material was originally designed for blades, blade models were naturally the most suitable for testing real-world data. That's it. Perfect, no impurities. Academician Z gently stroked the surface of the material, which felt as smooth as baby skin. Beyond anything else, this directional solidification operation was flawless. The solidification of the material was already largely successful, all that remained was testing and comparing its properties. But even from experience, he could sense the undeniable superiority of this material. The tensile test machine was first put on, and the tensile resistance data soared, easily surpassing 1000 MPa. Cheng Huinan and academician Z exchanged a glance at the rising data, their excitement evident. When had the tensile resistance of the material so easily surpassed 1000 MPa, becoming so routine? The final data, frozen at 1710 MPa, left both the test operator and the auxiliary test staff speechless with astonishment. Another final test result surpassing the simulated data. Was this going to become a routine for my god? Could this even become a routine? My god, truly a materials expert. Next came a series of mechanical property tests, starting with room temperature creep, mechanical fatigue, thermal fatigue, and impact resistance. Followed by various high-temperature properties and high-temperature plasticity. Then came tests for thermal corrosion and oxidation resistance. The high-temperature melting point test astonished the experimenters. The material instantly overheated, approaching the unimaginable 3000 degrees Celsius temperature limit. It possessed an extremely high initial melting point, and its structure was remarkably stable, capable of withstanding prolonged temperatures below 2400 degrees Celsius. Its ultra-high thermal conductivity, ultra-low thermal expansion coefficient, and minimal density gave it incredible physical properties. This truly was the blade material they had been dreaming of. Chapter 133 Highlights. It's important to understand that an aircraft engine is a highly complex and sophisticated thermodynamic machine, the heart of an aircraft. The engine's value accounts for 20%–30% of the total value of the aircraft. Blades are a special type of component in aircraft engines. They are numerous, complex in shape, demanding, and difficult to process, making them crucial to engine production. Thrust-to-weight ratio is a key technical indicator of engine performance. Given that the current achievable turbine inlet gas temperature is higher than the turbine blade load temperature, the use of high-performance blade materials can increase the turbine inlet temperature, enabling the aircraft engine to achieve greater thrust without changing weight, thereby improving the thrust-to-weight ratio. Related research shows that for every 100 degrees Celsius increase in turbine inlet temperature, the thrust-to-weight ratio of an aircraft engine can increase by approximately 10%. It's said that the average turbine inlet temperature for engines currently barely reaching a thrust-to-weight ratio of 10 reaches 1600 degrees Celsius. Many future plans anticipate that the turbine inlet temperature for the next generation of engines will reach around 1800 degrees Celsius. Cheng Huinan's voice was a little erratic with excitement. Our new T5 material can withstand temperatures reaching 2400 degrees Celsius, directly surpassing the 2000 degrees Celsius threshold. Academician Z's emotions were equally surging. Having spent a lifetime working with materials, they understood the significance of this data. It was equivalent to using this new material in their current fighter jet engines, coupled with a significantly lighter T4 titanium aluminum alloy fuselage material. The combined effect was truly 1 + 1 = N, allowing their fighter jets' thrust-to-weight ratios to soar, surpassing the global average and significantly doubling. What a concept! It was unimaginable. Wu-Tong, the organization deserves a great credit for you, a widely used fuselage material, a blade material with the highest performance requirements, two-pronged efforts, optimizing engine improvements and assisting in aircraft design refinement. Wu-Tong has brought about a remarkable leap forward for China Airlines. It's all thanks to Akademician's guidance. He's been incredibly hardworking and prepared, and I just did some design and time tracking. Wu-Tong shook her head. Aside from developing material models and arranging experiments with him, she didn't do much else, so she couldn't take credit for it. Still, she was pleased to see the actual material meet her expectations. Thankfully, the experiments went smoothly. Teacher, Academicians, it's been a busy day. You all should take a break. Tomorrow we'll begin repeating the preparation and verification process, and then we'll have to put these blades through further verification in truly extreme environments. Materials destined for the Chinese Eagle require meticulous attention to detail, requiring thousands of tests. Every detail must be meticulously refined to ensure a responsible service to the people and the pilots. I'll sort out and deduce the preparation process flow. I finally lived up to your expectations. Wu-Tong finally had time to check the time. It was already late at night. They just snatched up a few bites of lunch and dinner in the lab, their minds focused on the experiment. Haha. This must be an unexpected surprise. You're all the heroes. Come on. I've got a midnight snack for you. Eat your fill, and I'll arrange for someone to take you back home to rest. Zhang Hongming, who had been notified of the material's release and was in charge of confidentiality, greeted them with a smile. He had rushed over just in time for the final testing of the material. The exceptional performance data was so impressive that even someone with only a limited understanding of the material could sense its excellence, and he was equally excited. That's wonderful. You're the most attentive, Xiao Zheng. Oh, and there are egg tarts and grilled wings. Wu-Tong, these are what you young people like, so eat more. The biggest contribution to the success of this project belongs to you. Without your deductions and designs, our assistance wouldn't be of any use. Elder Cheng waved his hand, and he and Academician exchanged a smile. Young people generally need a little humility, but Wu-Tong really doesn't need it. He can be as boastful as he wants, it doesn't matter at all. If they had achieved such great results at Wu-Tong's age back then, the earth would have been too big to accommodate them. Your teacher is right, excessive modesty is a form of pride. Wu-Tong, Academician quipped. Yes, my God, you have to leave us some room to maneuver. Let us be humble. Ruan Chengsu, Xiao Lu, and other young researchers joined in with a smile, and the lounge suddenly erupted in laughter. The experiment was an unprecedented success, and repeating the preparations would be a piece of cake. Everyone was relaxed and happy. Even after another late night, they were still as energetic as if they had been pumped up, not feeling tired at all. Chatting and laughing, they finished the midnight snack Zhang Hongming had prepared. Wu-Tong compiled the final data and encrypted it for storage. The others cleaned up the lab, and everyone went back to rest. With the coordination of Professor Cheng, the auxiliary researchers who had signed confidentiality agreements had quietly moved to the adjacent dormitories. Zhang Hongming arranged for someone to escort Wu-Tong back to the dormitory. In just a few days, Wu-Tong's importance to him had grown. He had already informed Peking University that Wu-Tong's dormitory was being adjusted, and he expected to move into the faculty apartments on campus within the next 2 days. The single dormitories in Shaoyin were mostly occupied by international students, so they were relatively macy and not very secure from a confidentiality perspective. The day after the T4 new alloy material was released, the day the project was approved, Wu-Tong's dormitory on campus and her residence in Yunnan were meticulously screened for risks by the confidentiality team, acting as cleaners, with Wu-Tong's consent. As Wu-Tong demonstrated increasing personal value, her protection arrangements were also escalated. Now, Wu-Tong's protection level is almost on par with Chang Lao. Of course, this doesn't mean that Wu-Tong's benefits will instantly reach those of an academician. After all, experts selected to this level are generally top scholars who have made outstanding contributions and dedicated themselves to the country. They may not have Wu-Tong's momentary fame, but they have all dedicated themselves to the nation's development. However, because Wu-Tong now leads major national projects, is responsible for the development and production of 2 top-secret materials, and has access to highly classified information, security has been prioritized. Even so, Wu-Tong has been placed on the national key list, making her a subject of particular concern and protection. Especially now, with the success of the T5 single crystal nickel iron alloy blade material, Wu-Tong's importance level will be further improved. Chapter 134 Good News. Zhang Hongming wasn't surprised at all, and he continued to raise Wu-Tong's confidentiality and protection level. Wu-Tong was still so young, and perhaps lacked the so-called qualifications and experience. However, qualifications were the easiest to achieve, and they only increased with time. Furthermore, for a truly exceptional talent like Wu-Tong, so-called qualifications were the least of his worries. If it weren't for the rapid rise of top talents like Wu-Tong and Lu Xiao, few would have been qualified to talk about their so-called qualifications in front of them. In mathematics, Wu-Tong had already established himself internationally, and with the support of Peking University's supporters, he didn't need to rely on anyone else's opinions. Wu-Tong, a student of Professor Chang, enjoys the protection of Professor Chang and academician Zhang, as well as academician Zi, and even Lu Xiao, the chief designer of the 20th project, and Yang Wei, the chief engineer of the WS-15. All those places where Wu-Tong has made contributions are optimistic about him and support him. If anyone really wants to see Wu-Tong bullied because of his youth and inexperience, these people with ill intentions will let them experience the feeling of kicking a steel plate. While the financial rewards these top scholars enjoy in China may not match those internationally, when it comes to humanistic values and many special areas, the country will devote all its resources to serving these talented individuals who contribute to the nation. Rest, experiment with and prepare new materials, rest again, and then continue experimenting. Repeated experiments and preparations confirmed the stability of the T5 nickel iron alloy blade preparation process. With Wu-Tong's further refinement, he has essentially perfected the process for industrial production. By the time Wu-Tong had compiled all the data into a comprehensive document and sent it off, declaring her work complete, it was already a week later. That week, Wu-Tong had literally woken up for morning exercises, then headed to the lab, then worked her way up to the moon before returning to her dorm. Aside from the early morning light, she'd barely seen the sun rise, and naturally, she missed the military training that began right after the opening ceremony. Wu-Tong wasn't picky about her schedule. The day after T5's successful production, she was relocated to a new dorm, which had no impact on her. The move simply involved packing her belongings and moving them to a new place. Ruan Chengsu, accompanied by 2 soldiers dressed as students, helped Wu-Tong move her belongings to the new dorm without her having to lift a finger. It was only during her evening rest after returning home that she had time to get around to her new dorm. The new dorm for teachers on duty was larger than her previous students' dorm, featuring a 1-bedroom, 1 living room, and a private bathroom. It was also equipped with more convenient appliances than before. The Academic Affairs Office had, in effect, provided every appliance Wu-Tong needed. Wu-Tong preferred the corner bookshelf in the living room, complete with a built-in desk, a perfect spot for storing books or conducting research. Before graduation, Wu-Tong decided to spend most of her time on campus unless absolutely necessary, to avoid burdening the personnel responsible for her protection. The school's provision of internal housing was convenient enough. In Zizhao, Lu Xiao opened a document uploaded from the internal system. The detailed preparation process was laid out vividly, a meticulous detail that required no effort on his part. This brought a sense of relief to the gloomy expression he had harbored for days. He even craved, thinking how great it would be to have more researchers like Wu-Tong. He couldn't help but recall the size of his former subordinates and pondered the possibility of recruiting Wu-Tong to the project team to work together. Yang Wei, the WS-15 chief engineer at the 614th Institute of Xi'an Aircraft Industry, lived and worked at the institute, oblivious to the fact that he had spent countless hours in the outside world. After easily modifiable components were replaced with the actual WS-15, the performance improvement was noticeable, filling the core project team with excitement. The data generated by the system simulation was, after all, just a simulation, and they still harbored a lingering suspicion that it wouldn't match reality. However, when they installed the actual engine and saw the actual improvement comparison data before their eyes, The shock was unparalleled. From him down to the workers hammering away at the components, everyone tightened their belts and began rebuilding the core components according to the optimized data. Yang Wei and the core experimentalists meticulously reviewed Wu Tong's manuscript, working in shifts. When tired, they would retreat to the laboratory floor, often sleeping there. Everyone was united in their efforts, eager for the brand new test run. When the phone rang, Yang Wei was watching the inspection of the new combustion chamber, mentally calculating the improvement it would bring to the WS-15. The sudden ringtone, though soft, was piercing to Yang Wei's ears, immersed in his calculations. The call nearly disrupted his thoughts, forcing him to frown deeply. He glanced over, his face sullen. Meeting the assistant's suggestive gaze, he realized it was his dedicated line. Dedicated lines aren't usually contacted easily, but when they are, it's definitely necessary. Yang Wei reached into his coat pocket and pulled out his dedicated line phone. Seeing the caller ID with the name Wu Tong clearly visible, his deep frown softened, his stern expression softening slightly. This sudden change in attitude sparked curiosity among the core lab members, who had just been subjected to CEO Yang's stern gaze. Who was the caller? How could they possess such charisma to cause CEO Yang's expression to soften, perhaps even soften? Yang Wei answered the call and, with a few strides, walked to a secluded corner, away from the crowd. Then, in a low voice, he said, "Wu Tong, how can I help you?" For Wu Tong's safe development, his name couldn't be revealed for the time being. He was the only one in the entire institute who knew that the optimization data came from Wu Tong's deductions. "Professor Yang, the T5 new nickel-iron alloy blade material has been successfully produced. Repeated experiments have verified that it can be industrially produced, and the process is essentially mature." Wu Tong wasted no time in delivering this gratifying news to Yang Wei, who had been waiting for it for a long time. Really, Yang Wei's joy overflowed upon hearing this, his face beaming with delight. "Thank you, Wu Tong, you and Mr. Cheng have worked so hard." It was obvious that Wu Tong had been working non-stop to achieve such rapid results. And he expressed his gratitude. "You're welcome. I can't help much, I'm just doing some auxiliary work. You're the ones who really lead the charge," Wu Tong explained carefully. "I've encrypted the preparation process and sent it to you. Through repeated experiments, I've accumulated some standard-sized blade materials. I've asked Zhang Si to have someone deliver them to you. Please install them on the engine and conduct the final, real-world experiments to verify the data of these materials under more extreme service conditions." Chapter 135, Surge. If these materials pass your extreme testing and the data is satisfactory, we can go directly to the factory and start production. Okay. I'll make arrangements as soon as the materials arrive, and I'll send you the latest data as soon as I have it. I sincerely invite you to become the chief consultant of the WS-15 and help us make it even better. Chief consultant is a position second only to chief engineer. Before, Yang Wei had never offered this position, but now, Yang Wei wanted to repay Wu Tong with the best conditions he could offer. If the WS-15 generation hadn't been finalized during the difficult development of the previous 2 years, he would have wanted to give the position of chief engineer to Wu Tong. Mr. Yang, you're too polite. Without the solid foundation you laid, there would be no foundation for my deductions. I've only been standing on your shoulders and doing some theoretical deductions. Even without her, with Mr. Yang's tireless and relentless research, this result might have been achieved. She simply used her best efforts to accelerate the process. Actually, I should be thanking you for the trust and access you granted me, allowing me access to those confidential data. I've learned a lot in the process. It's truly integrated and elevated what I'd previously learned in a disjointed and scattered manner. I should be the one thanking you. Few people in all of China offer such a comprehensive overview of the core data on the WS-15. This encompasses a wide range of subjects, and Wu Tong, during the 6 months she arrived at Peking University, had taken numerous classes. Besides basic mathematics, she also covered everything from physics to chemistry, materials science to engineering. Studying the WS-15 data also served as a stepping stone to Wu Tong's advancement in these disciplines. Building upon this foundation, she developed a foundational understanding, akin to advanced special training. Wu Tong has truly mastered these subjects. Regarding materials, Wu Tong received a list of advanced reading materials that Professor Cheng had meticulously compiled for her. She repeated the preparation process, free from the intense concentration of her initial preparations. Whenever she had time, she focused on studying them. Day by day, her understanding of materials science deepened, a depth far beyond her previous understanding. If nothing unexpected happens, with continued research and study, materials science might become Wu Tong's most superior subject, after mathematics. Not everyone who reads all that material can achieve this level of mastery. Wu Tong's natural talent is the key. Considering Wu Tong's world-class mathematical achievements one after another, perhaps she considers them commonplace, something everyone can achieve? It feels like a certain classmate's perception might be biased, but that's unimportant, and Yang Wei doesn't emphasize it. Giving the assistant engineer a signal to continue verifying, Yang Wei hurried back to the office and loaded the encrypted document Wu Tong had sent her. She then discussed with Wu Tong some of the questions they'd been having about their recent research and preparation, as well as the processes and principles behind Wu Tong's material preparation. Aircraft engines are complex, and blade preparation is definitely the most challenging area. If he fails to fully understand the key points, feigns knowledge, and rushes into the preparation test, it could lead to disaster and waste Wu Tong's hard work. Wu Tong carefully explained the basis of her deductions. After receiving guidance from academician Z and supplementary materials science classes, her theoretical knowledge was enriched, and she could use scientific language to explain the absolute deduction that had captivated her that night, though she only understood the theory without the reason. Aerospace engine blades are typically cast from alloy materials, and single crystal technology is currently the most advantageous technology. When the material is cast, molecules and atoms combine to form grains. Initially, these grains are arranged outward from the core. Yang Wei nodded, explaining the difficulty. Because there's no external force acting on them, the arrangement becomes chaotic and irregular, with fracture zones between the grains. This results in inconsistent melting points and load-bearing capacity across the crystal. This non-uniform distribution creates two significant challenges. First, the forces applied to the entire blade remain uneven, and second, some areas naturally bear greater heat than others. When the blades are made, they will instantly fracture and disintegrate due to the high temperatures exceeding 1,500 degrees Celsius. Yes, Mr. Yang, you're an expert in aeroengines. Therefore, the engine blades I've designed are single crystal blades. The grains within these blades must be perfectly ordered. Based on this, I've designed a new nickel-iron material model that, under certain conditions, exhibits exceptionally high thermal and mechanical properties. Question and answer, each extending the other. Wu Tong and Yang Wei engaged in a detailed and engaged discussion. This problem isn't so simple to solve, is it? Most alloys have low melting points and simply can't withstand temperatures exceeding 1,500 degrees Celsius. And single crystal aero engine blades must be hollow with numerous grooves inside, right? As the WS-15's chief designer, Yang Wei has been deeply involved in this area for many years and understands the inherent challenges. Only by simultaneously enhancing the alloy's melting point and strength can truly qualified single crystal engine blades be produced. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been stuck for so many years. The numerous material challenges are also a crucial factor. Yes, based on the atomic and molecular sequence, I transformed and deduced the appropriate metal rhenium to enhance the alloy's melting point and strength. Wu Tong's absolute direction and absolute deduction allowed her to screen and determine that the key material was rhenium. This metal has a melting point of 3,180 degrees Celsius and a tensile strength exceeding 1,172 MPa, equivalent to bearing 117 tons of weight per square centimeter without deformation. Furthermore, the most amazing thing about this metal is that it undergoes virtually no thermal expansion or contraction when subjected to high temperatures and rapid heating and cooling. Engine nozzles made of this material can withstand 100,000 thermal fatigue cycles, making it an excellent choice for aviation materials. However, rhenium ore is rare and precious. Like titanium, no company or even country can afford to use rhenium metal to fully construct blades. Wu Tong established a mathematical model based on the material and, combining her expertise, deduced the most appropriate material ratio. I rearranged the molecular atomic order, retaining the advantages of each material, such as titanium's high resistance, aluminum's lightness, nickel-iron's corrosion resistance, and rhenium's high temperature and thermal cycling fatigue resistance. This resulted in the most superior material currently available, and at a relatively low cost, the T5 nickel-iron alloy blade material. Wu Tong's precise guidance and answers led him to ask Yang Wei some questions about engineering dynamics. After a brief exchange, they both hung up the phone, satisfied 2,400 degrees Celsius constant temperature resistance, 1,710 MPa tensile strength, corrosion resistance, and fatigue resistance, all at a comparable weight. There couldn't be a more suitable blade material. Seeing the detailed data on the T5 alloy's advantages, Yang Wei's blood boiled, and he felt a return to the exhilarating design of the WS-15, perhaps even surpassing it. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 136 Burning Money. Because his WS-15, now brimming with dreams and new vitality, is destined to become a truly world-class engine of unparalleled excellence. With so many superior improvements in cumulative performance, he is confident he can achieve a thrust-to-weight ratio of over 14 and a turbine inlet temperature exceeding 2,000 degrees Celsius. Previously, his best guesses, with the gradual improvements he made to the second and third generation aircraft, were to surpass the 1,800 degrees Celsius threshold. Now, he can confidently make that dream a reality, easily surpassing it and even reaching even higher temperatures. Theoretically, every 100 degrees Celsius increase in turbine inlet temperature can improve engine thrust-to-weight ratio by 10%, but this increase places immense demands on material properties. But now, they have found a genius who has broken through this material barrier. Now, everything is in place, only the east wind is needed, and he looks forward to the dazzling data that the new WS-15 will deliver, shocking everyone. Without hesitation, Yang Wei left the office and went to the front lines to continue monitoring the progress. He seemed to have instantly refueled, his whole body filled with endless energy. After a pleasant conversation with Chief Engineer Yang, and after clearly explaining the key points, Wu Tong, under Chang Huinen's guidance, began filling out the experimental project completion schedule. This was her responsibility as the project leader. National projects had strict oversight procedures for project funding and experimental progress, requiring the submission of specific reports. Even with their meticulous budgeting, T5 alloy was never wasted, and even the initial experiments were successful on the first try. The experimental R&D costs were still a staggering 40 million yuan, primarily in materials and equipment. Repeated preparation according to standard blade specifications consumed a considerable amount of material. In her usual math studies, she was used to using only pen and paper, with the excess amounting to little more than a few printing fees. The last time she submitted an application, she had only completed one application for 100,000 yuan under the supervision of Professor Li Yishan, and she had even worried about how to spend it. Now, unnoticed, the cost has soared hundreds of times. Without warning, the 40 million yuan budget has been wiped out. The sheer amount spent on material R&D truly leaves Wu Tong speechless. This is just the experimental costs for the T5 alloy. Initial production costs for the T4 titanium aluminum alloy have already taken up 100 million yuan, leaving 160 million yuan remaining for the industrialization of T5, which is expected to be no less. This rate of expenditure is truly alarming. This expenditure is already conservative, Cheng Huinen nodded with a gracious smile. Without Wu Tong's detailed derivation and design, even if they had invested the entire project budget to develop this material, they wouldn't have seen any results. As Wu Tong leads more projects, she'll realize how much she's saving. What are you planning to research next? Wu Tong's R&D tasks are complete. Besides providing remote consultations, following up on the production process, and resolving any potential issues, she can finally relax and rest. As for materials, I'll organize my recent understanding and continue studying the book list you've planned. Mathematically, I want to develop a turbulence model. With recent high-density material research and development, she's gained a deeper understanding of various materials' properties, molecular and atomic structures, and after personally working with them, she's gained a deeper understanding. She wants to sort out her thoughts and findings. While planning, Wu Tong suddenly remembered that military training probably wasn't over yet, and if she went back, she might still be able to catch up. It's training time now, so I should probably go back and participate, right? No need, Wu Tong. If you're truly interested in the training projects, I can help you make the connections and arrange for you to go directly to the real base and touch the real equipment. Who knows, if Wu Tong gets inspired, she might even be able to create a real design. The school's targeted training program wouldn't waste Wu Tong's time. If Wu Tong wanted to go there, as long as it wasn't a highly confidential area, she'd probably be very welcome. Then there's no need to bother. Wu Tong shook her head. If it was the young man, he'd probably be very interested in this field and would probably have training every day. As for her, she preferred to swim in the ocean of knowledge, exploring its endless mysteries. Teacher, let me use the lab instruments to familiarize myself with the structures of currently available materials. The more you see, the more you discover. Since she didn't have to follow the routines of military training, Wu Tong decided to allocate her time to this area of study. She wanted to try to find an effective pattern or explanation that could explain the directional deduction she made during the preparation of these two new materials, making materials research and development more traceable and enabling more people to build on their achievements. No matter how powerful her deductive skills were, individual energy was ultimately limited. A single flower doesn't make a spring, 100 flowers bloom and 100 schools of thought contend. That's what we truly desire. Go ahead, use it. If you need any materials the lab doesn't have, just ask your junior brother to place an order. He's familiar with the process. Elder Cheng cheerfully supported her. Students actively and spontaneously pursued their research without needing to be pushed, and as a teacher, he wholeheartedly supported them. Materials, continuous experimentation, are a perpetual topic. He, too, was currently digesting the ideas behind Wu Tong's two new materials. Each one boasted exceptionally superior data. A materials scientist's excitement was undeniable. However, the mathematical models and the translation of mathematical knowledge involved were truly daunting, and he had to rub his head and continue. The student's mathematical foundation was so strong that much of Wu Tong's material thinking was grounded in mathematics. This was Wu Tong's specialty and the foundation of her precise predictions about materials. After Wu Tong successfully developed the two superior new materials, T4 and T5, Cheng decided not to interfere too much in her studies. Such gifted children, as long as they didn't stray too far, didn't need to be tampered with. Just as it's difficult for them to peer into higher dimensions from lower dimensions, ordinary people shouldn't interfere too much with the research of a gifted individual. With her teacher's permission, Wu Tong began her research. She didn't begin with an unfamiliar area, but rather with titanium. The subject she was currently researching the most. The thermal, chemical, and mechanical properties of titanium, its atomic structure and unit cell diagram. Wu Tong meticulously studied everything from the material's properties to its microstructure, gaining a thorough understanding. Then came the properties, atomic structure, and unit cell structure of aluminum, nickel iron, the atomic structure diagram of rhenium, and the atomic structure diagram of magnesium. Wu Tong's observations, step by step, revealed each detailed atomic structure and unit cell diagram vividly on his manuscript drawings. The molecular structure of T4 alloy, the molecular structure of T5 blade material. Chapter 137 Immersion. The spatial grid of atoms arranged in a crystal is called a lattice. It's composed of numerous identically shaped and sized minimal geometric units, stacked repeatedly. The smallest unit that fully captures the lattice's characteristics is called a unit cell. From molecular structure to individual atomic unit cells, the lattice, unit cell. Seeing how the seniors and classmates who, in their eyes, had already become successful figures by joining Cheng's lab, were still so obsessed with reading, spending almost all their time studying except for their meals, couldn't help but tease them, asking if they shouldn't leave a way out for the underachievers. They couldn't help but smile wryly. They did want to, but who could blame the top genius above them, Wuxian, for not leaving them any way out? He was more talented than them and worked harder than them, so he deserved his brilliance. He would only get better and better, rising higher and higher. If they didn't work hard, they wouldn't be able to keep up with him. Even if he hadn't said anything, they wouldn't have the ability to stay in the lab. Winners advance, losers retreat. Competition is constant in this world, and they wouldn't be given any special treatment just because they joined Wuxian's project team first. A top-tier experimental team is never a place to retire or sell qualifications. If they want to keep up with the pace of our God, stay by his side, and be exposed to the most advanced materials and experiments, they must work harder than ordinary people. The early bird catches the worm, and transformation and improvement are never easy. This is the hardship that must be endured. If they are not understood, then they will not be understood. Their future achievements must be beautiful and sweet. It's okay to work hard now. Who said we don't have enough talent? We can only make up for it with hard work. Wu Tong finally turned to her best mathematical logic to deduce the problem of materials. Lattice parameters, a 1 equals a 2 equals a 3c, Greek letter alpha equals Greek letter beta equals 90, Greek letter gamma equals 120, alku Greek letter gamma face-centered cubic body-centered cubic, cr, mo, cs, Greek letter alpha phi, Greek letter delta phi, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, time had been emptied into nothingness, sheer piles of manuscripts, born from her study and deduction, piled high on the bookshelf in Wu Tong's dormitory. Hundreds, thousands, already countless, were the accumulation of her relentless study and deduction over these days. Gradually, a penetrating light of wisdom appeared in Wu Tong's eyes. She thought she was about to understand the mystery. This time, she was really going to understand. Wu Tong entered a state of complete enlightenment and immediately began the final push. Another day of sunrise and sunset. Wu Tong, who usually left home on time, hadn't left, attracting the attention of the security officers responsible for her safety. They kept an eye on Wu Tong's door and called her usual contact number, but there was no answer. They immediately reported the unusual situation to their superiors. With their approval, they found a suitable angle and conducted a preliminary search through Wu Tong's living room window with binoculars. Their first step was to confirm whether Wu Tong was experiencing any unusual problems and whether there were any clues in the living room. The bedroom was an extremely private space, and unless it was an emergency, it wouldn't usually be considered first. Fortunately, they immediately spotted someone sitting at a desk by the window, writing non-stop, and cleared the alarm that Wu Tong was in danger. Stay on standby, Zhang Hongming decided. The security officers would report directly to him daily, and he would also maintain contact with Chang Lao. He knew Wu Tong had been researching something recently, and perhaps making some progress, so they decided not to disturb her for the time being. According to their understanding, Wu Tong had previously entered a state of ecstasy when he came up with the Zhou conjecture and the twin prime conjecture. Now, they wondered if Wu Tong had made a discovery that had caused him to enter this state. If so, wouldn't their hasty interruption disrupt Wu Tong's train of thought, causing the loss of some world-class achievement? That would be a huge loss. Chapter 138 Discovery. Since Wu Tong's safety wasn't a concern, they wouldn't move for now. It was like a novel young people love. Wu Tong was in seclusion and couldn't be disturbed. They waited for him to emerge. Immersed in the magical world of the microcosm, Wu Tong was oblivious to the sounds of the outside world. In his mind, deduction was pushed to its limits. A torrent of elemental symbols danced, a variety of atomic structures, unit cell refinements. Under Wu Tong's deductive power, everything appeared as if it were a tiny detail, rotating and piecing together a beautiful hexagonal prism. Each hexagonal prism interlocked, inseparable, forming a metallic lattice. The lattice formed metallic grains, and the metallic grains formed a macroscopic metallic structure. After nearly a month of continuous study and deduction, examining materials, chemistry, physics, mathematics, and every other angle, Wu Tong finally discovered the basis for absolute direction determination and absolute deduction. So, at a more microscopic level, elemental atoms undergo a special, equivalent co-bonding process, forming a new unit cell. Preserving a selected, beneficial orientation, they combine to form a new molecular structure. This, through directional solidification, ultimately creates a quasi-new substance, resulting in a material with vastly superior performance. From a chemical perspective, this involves a specific combination of metal particles, with chemical bonds breaking and then forming new ones. This unique co-bonding process isn't limited to the titanium, aluminum, nickel, and iron elements she'd previously used, it exists between all natural elements. When different elements are combined in specific patterns, the metal structure undergoes new combinations based on the selected orientation, unleashing properties that surpass those of ordinary metals. There's a mysterious, predictable mechanism at work here that perfectly leverages the strengths of the combined metals to create the desired, superior alloy. Without understanding this principle and haphazardly combining them, the combined material's performance will likely only deteriorate, unless one is incredibly lucky or, like Wu Tong, possesses an unwavering sense of direction. It's like ordinary titanium-aluminum alloys. The presence of aluminum dilutes the density of titanium, causing the tensile strength of the alloy to plummet, even dropping below the average. Unfortunately, this particular rule might not be universally applicable. Different material combinations have their own unique rules, making it unrealistic to generalize. Perhaps their current technology isn't sophisticated enough, and there are still microscopic aspects that remain unobservable. Translating this unique co-bonding pattern into a fixed rule, from theory to practice, requires further research. As expected, the wonders of materials aren't something she could achieve overnight. Humanity's understanding of matter remains profoundly limited. An alloy is a solid product with metallic properties obtained by melting a metal with one or more other metals or nonmetals, and then cooling and solidifying them. However, the world's understanding of alloys remains superficial, merely a macroscopic uniformity, like alchemy, where various elements are combined to form various alloy phases. Then, through appropriate processing, endless experimentation and trial and error ratios, like hitting the jackpot. The search for the one that might satisfy various performance requirements is unsuccessful, without being able to explain the detailed, microscopic principles. Wu Tong's discovery, however, provides a valuable reference for the world's exploration of the principles underlying the formation of alloys. She has embodied this discovery, vividly depicted on paper, moving beyond her intuitive judgment. Outside the dormitory, another sunset, its last rays fading into the sky, was approaching. Elder Cheng and Ruan Changsu arrived at Wu Tong's dormitory door. Wu Tong hadn't left the house for 2 days, constantly working on a deduction. On the day Wu Tong hadn't left, he had received feedback and had come to check on her, but he didn't bother disturbing her train of thought. Now, 2 days were almost up, and she still hadn't left. Worried, he made another special trip to check on her. Li Yishan had been outside for a while. Seeing the master and disciple, he stepped forward to greet them. "Master Cheng, Cheng Su, you're here too." He'd learned of Wu Tong's suspected state of inspiration today, when Master Cheng called to confirm his condition. Li Yishan had experienced this twice before, and Master Cheng had witnessed it last time in the lab. Whenever Wu Tong made a discovery, he would enter this special state, completely immersed in his deductions, oblivious to the outside world. By the afternoon, with no sign of contact from either Master Cheng or Wu Tong, he hurried over after teaching his students, having already been waiting at the door. If he didn't knock, Wu Tong wouldn't have left the house for 2 days and 2 nights, and likely hadn't eaten much either. He couldn't tolerate such physical exertion on a young man. Knocking would interrupt Wu Tong's train of thought, and the damage would be devastating. After a brief hesitation, Master Cheng decisively said, "Knock. It's just a one-time interruption. We'll take our time." It's not advisable for Wu Tong to waste time like this. Compared to immediate results, Wu Tong's health was more important. Wu Tong is still young and has a bright future ahead of her. She shouldn't lose sight of the big picture for the sake of small things. "That's right," Li Yishan nodded in agreement. He stood by the door, turned around, and raised his hand to knock. As the two spoke, Wu Tong had almost come out of her deep research state and had become somewhat aware of the movement outside. She casually gathered the manuscripts in front of her, stood up, stretched her muscles, and stepped out to open the door. Just as Li Yishan knocked on the dormitory door opened from the inside. Teacher Li, Senior Brother Ruan, is everyone here?" Wu Tong was stunned when she saw the 3 people at the door, and greeted them one by one. "You haven't been out for 2 days. No matter how important research is, you must take care of yourself. It is unacceptable to sacrifice your health for scientific research results," Elder Cheng carefully comforted. "I asked Cheng Su to bring you some porridge. Drink some to warm your stomach first." Worried that Wu Tong's stomach would not be able to cope after not eating for a long time, Elder Cheng made appropriate arrangements with great experience. When asked how he knew so much, he said, "Of course, that when he was younger, he was just like Wu Tong, working day and night on experiments, relying on his youth to not take it seriously. Now, his chronic stomach problems were causing him a headache. Sorry to have worried you, teacher. I have some snacks in the dorm to help me during the course." She knew she had a knack for inspiration, so she'd stocked her dorm with multi-grain biscuits, energy bars, and other fast food options. This time, they were perfectly prepared and ready to use. "Teacher, I found something." Wu Tong's eyes lit up. She was more eager to share her discovery with the teacher than to eat. Chapter 139, Quasi-Nobel Prize Level? What did you discover? Elder Cheng asked carefully, and Wu Tong excitedly told him that Cheng Huinen's intuition was no ordinary discovery. I've discovered a special microscopic equivalent co-bonding mechanism between metallic elements. Utilizing this equivalent co-bonding mechanism is the key to enhancing alloy properties. Wu Tong opened the door and invited Elder Cheng and the other two inside. The small living room wasn't particularly noticeable when Wu Tong was alone, but with three more people, it suddenly felt a bit cramped. But who cared now? Elder Cheng led the way, and the other three followed Wu Tong to the desk. On the desk, a glance revealed piles of manuscripts, stretching from the side shelves to the desk surface. The three visitors were truly dazzled. Wu Tong handed the last concrete manuscript to Elder Cheng. The first thing that caught the three people's eye was the series of abstract mathematical formulas, enough to dazzle anyone without a solid mathematical background. With a mathematics instructor here, Li Yishan barely managed to detect something familiar in the formulas. What's used here is functions, wave functions, and... Li Yishan scratched his head. While he could immediately discern some of the mathematical principles involved, understanding the mathematical inferences required careful analysis. His math skills were decent, but it depended on the context. Compared to his students, he'd certainly make some mistakes, but compared to someone like Wu Tong, the prover of three major world problems and conjectures, the gap was vast. In particular, just from this initial mathematical formula, Li Yishan was struck by how much Wu Tong's math skills had improved. It had only been another month, and Wu Tong had spent most of that time in the material science lab, rarely appearing in the School of Mathematics. This had deeply worried Dean Pan and the others, who worried that their mathematics star might eventually become the Academy's star. But now, Li Yishan could go back and tell the leaders with absolute certainty, don't worry, Wu Tong's mathematical progress had never stopped. Wu Tong, please give me some pointers. Show me something I can understand. Cheng Huinen felt once again that his recent math training seemed to be in vain. What on earth was written on that? Aside from the occasional parameters, atomic structures, and unit cell diagrams, which seemed familiar to him, those formulas were a real pain in the ass. It seemed his recent math training could never keep up with the level of sophistication his young students were grappling with. Wu Tong laughed and simply pulled out a new sheet of scratch paper. Picking up a pen, he hand-drew a diagram of the atomic structure of the unit cells of T4 and T5 alloys. The equivalent co-bonds between the metallic phases underwent a miraculous reaction, ultimately yielding an extraordinary material. After completing the T4 and T5 alloys, I have been wondering if there are any reactions that we cannot see, and whether there is a basis that can give the material something to rely on and a trace to follow, rather than relying on wild imagination and chance. Then I looked for information for research and analysis, designed and transformed mathematical models for deduction, and finally, through a series of verifications, I discovered this special equivalent co-bonding mechanism. Why are the alloys harder and tougher? It is equivalent to an ordinary material. A single chopstick can be easily broken, but with the participation of this special mechanism reaction, it becomes 10 chopsticks firmly held together, and the performance is greatly improved. After deduction of the theoretical model I designed, T4 and T5 alloys both have this co-bonding effect. At the atomic and even more microscopic level, different elements co-bond to form new combinations, retaining the selected superior performance. Wu Tong showed the three people one by one the results of her research in the past month. Unfortunately, I've only confirmed the existence of this special mechanism. Understanding how to harness it and create more superior materials requires further research. I've applied my new theory to several existing alloys, and they all confirm the existence of this special mechanism. Next, I'll be looking for more data to validate my theory. With this theory, I believe we'll have a more accurate basis for future material calculations. The presence of this reaction, coupled with an increase in the data volume, indicates superior material properties and potential for further research, further reducing the error in computational materials science. After hearing Wu Tong's words, the three men seemed to be holding their foreheads in their hands. They'd achieved such astonishing results in less than a month, and they were still feeling regretful? Then, those of them who had been following the rules and had achieved nothing in a year, weren't they even worthy of breathing air? If you need any help, just let us know. This discovery is enough to garner a major paper, a milestone in the advancement of chemical materials. You could definitely apply for a spot in Science or Nature, Elder Cheng. suppressing his excitement, smiled and said to Wu Tong. Although he struggled with the complex and abstract mathematical formulas, he still had a keen eye for the results. A discovery like this could even be considered near Nobel Prize winning. Can this be published in a paper? Wu Tong was unsure. This discovery had truly consumed a considerable amount of her time and energy, but she felt it was due to her limited understanding of materials, and she hadn't considered the magnitude of this achievement. Of course, this discovery will definitely cause a sensation in the global chemical materials community. Purely theoretical, there aren't many limitations. First, refine the data and produce the paper. I'll get it approved, and then we can publish it and try for a top journal. Science and Nature, the main journals of China, only publish a few papers a year. In fact, Wu Tong's previous 2 research projects had both been published in top journals, Science and Nature. However, as the performance data of these 2 groundbreaking materials in aviation were tested in various extreme environments, they were classified as state secrets, a strategically protected reserve. They couldn't be disclosed to the outside world, and naturally, Wu Tong couldn't publish them publicly. Our school, Science or Nature, has a 1 million yuan bonus for each paper. Wu Tong, you're going to have financial luck again. Li Yishan finally calmed down his deep shock and smiled and congratulated. Article 28 of the Peking University Scholarship states that papers published in international academic journals, such as Nature or Science, will receive a 1 million yuan bonus. According to the Chinese Academy of Sciences JCR journal classification for that year, papers published in JCR1 journals will receive a bonus of 100,000 yuan, JCR2 journals will receive 80,000 yuan, JCR3 journals will receive 60,000 yuan, and JCR4 journals will receive a bonus of 30,000 yuan. Papers published in EI Index journals or Peking University Chinese core journals will receive a bonus of 20,000 yuan. Chapter 140, Able to. Most publications in top journals like these are the result of a team's application, support, and coordinated efforts, ultimately achieving recognition. Naturally, the prize money is distributed among the entire team, a 1 million yuan prize, with each individual receiving varying amounts based on their contributions, making it virtually impossible to keep it all to themselves. But Wu Tong is different. Her achievements are essentially hers, and she receives the prize money alone, leaving no one in a position to compete, making the prize money seem exceptionally generous. Since Wu Tong enrolled, she has amassed a staggering amount of scholarships for her significant achievements, truly astonishing and bringing countless tears of envy to their eyes. Yet, no one is dissatisfied with Wu Tong's awards. Those who are dissatisfied should first achieve Wu Tong's achievements before gloating. True to their joke last year, Kyoto University's scholarships are becoming Wu Tong's bank account. But given her significant achievements, Kyoto University is willing to accept them. In just a short time, 2 papers have appeared in the Annals of Mathematics, 2 papers in Acta Mathematica, 4 leading mathematics journals, representing the proof of 3 major conjectures and the birth of a major innovative mathematical method. Now, they are poised to impact a top international journal like Science or Nature, along with a Ramanujan Medal and a 1-hour lecture at the International Congress of Mathematicians. This year's KPIs for Kyoto University's teaching are absolutely amazing. Perhaps even higher. Thinking of the vague hints given by Professor Zhou, Li Yishan felt that he had been witnessing miracles this year. Each time, he felt it was a miracle. Before he met Wu Tong, he never knew that one day, he would be dazzled by the sight of a miracle. He had barely digested the previous one when the next one arrived. He felt he had already used words like surprise and shock to their full potential, but perhaps the next time, he would be overwhelmed by these emotions again. After all, no one could take these achievements lightly. Silica I6, 01401606-12 Wu Tong wrote down a few formulas. These were the materials she had finally researched, a lingering wave of inspiration giving her a clue. Is this silicon oxide, a polyoxygen molecule? The complex mathematical formulas were a headache, but Cheng Huinan was extremely sensitive to materials. Although his main research area was metal materials, he was no stranger to molecular materials. As soon as Wu Tong wrote the formula, he recognized the chemical formula involved. Yes, teacher, this is a rudimentary idea I came up with using this derivation theory. Ideally, I'd like to create a dense reduction membrane and a matching reducing agent that can filter contaminated water to achieve pure drinking water clarity. Through the reduction reaction, It can also collect the filtered metals in a targeted manner. China's rapid economic development, stable international status, and firm control of its voice are not without cost. Water pollution has become a serious problem. In particular, the technical and cost-effectiveness of industrial wastewater and waste treatment made it difficult for businesses to implement wastewater treatment. Some factories even discharged wastewater and waste directly into rivers, causing severe water pollution. With the advent of information technology, reports of countless cancer villages and sudden incidents have made it difficult for most people to drink safe drinking water. Once lush green mountains and clear waters have become stagnant and stinking ditches, with even the Yangtze and Yellow rivers not spared. 10 years later, the country began to vigorously rectify and protect the environment, advocating that lush waters and clear mountains are invaluable assets. However, the environment has always been easy to damage but difficult to repair. Dealing with and repairing pollution, especially water pollution, has always been a major challenge. Wu Tong didn't expect to change the situation on her own, but she could contribute something, develop the necessary technology and have the government promote it within its capabilities. In the absence of a specific solution, the government is working hard to address the problem. With the technology, she believes it will be widely promoted. One day, all Chinese people will have access to safe drinking water, and water pollution will no longer be a major problem plaguing the world. I've only vaguely grasped some clues so far, but we're still a long way from fully realizing the material's potential. She only had a preliminary idea. The road to fully realized design was long. Ideals are full of promise, but reality is harsh. From idea to viable product, Wu Tong still had a long way to go. Don't worry, just give it your all. I'll support you. If you need any help, I'll connect you with the right people. Cheng Huinan had defined the direction for his apprentice from the outset. He was solely responsible for guiding Wu Tong in the fundamentals, while she herself would lead her own development. He would do his utmost to assist her wherever she needed help. A gifted child like her shouldn't be constrained by his stereotyped thinking. Furthermore, Wu Tong held a positive outlook, and her research and development were all for the benefit of the nation, so of course, he offered his full support. With a young apprentice like Wu Tong, Cheng Huinan felt his life's purpose was renewed. Papers and new materials are being rushed. The Great Wall wasn't built in a day. You must prioritize your health. Eat something first, get some rest, and we'll take it one step at a time. When the new data comes back, go to the lab tomorrow and take a look, Cheng Huinan instructed carefully. He now somewhat understood the dilemma and concerns of the comrades in the healthcare team. From now on, he would try to be a good, cooperative patient. By the way, please make time to go back to the School of Mathematics. The dean has something to tell you. Li Yishan smiled and added a warning. If Wu Tong didn't return to the School of Mathematics, Dean Pen and Professor Zhou would come to the School of Material Science to poach him. Professor Zhou also asked me to tell you, when will you have time to visit the Mathematics Center? Don't forget, you're a researcher at the center. Old Pan and that kid Zhou are just jealous and petty. Cheng Huinan curled his lips. Wu Tong had spent quite a bit of time in his old man's lab, researching materials, and now they were playing such tricks on him. It was truly despicable. What else could the School of Mathematics teach Wu Tong, or could the two of them together possibly teach Wu Tong? If he hadn't been so slow to react when Wu Tong enrolled, he would have already snatched Wu Tong into the Department of Materials Science. Tomorrow, he would go to the president and the school to secure Wu Tong's second major in the School of Materials Science, lest those shameless physicists in the Department of Physics also try to snatch Wu Tong away. He knew Wu Tong's physics knowledge was not low. As far as he knew, he had deep knowledge of theoretical mechanics and fluid mechanics. After all, without such a solid foundation, how could he discuss so smoothly with top physicists like Liu Xiao and help improve the J-20's overall design? As for the School of Mathematics, they were the first to recruit Wu Tong and had invested resources in his training. He felt less confident in front of them, but he could hold his head high in front of the Department of Physics. Wu Tong was his student, and no one could possibly steal Wu Tong's second degree in materials science. Chapter 141 Cherish. Leaving the thermos with Wu Tong and, after repeated instructions, Cheng Huinan accompanied Ruan Changsu and Li Yishan out of Wu Tong's dorm. With initial results in hand, Wu Tong felt less anxious. She quickly washed up and opened the thermos, revealing a pot of raw beef porridge from her own kitchen. It must have been placed in the thermos right out of the pot, and while it was still piping hot, Wu Tong called home. Talking with her family was her best way to relax and unwind. Their love and care always gave her endless energy. She'd been incredibly busy lately, and while she'd been in touch, she'd never had much time to talk. Her parents, her grandfather, and her uncles, feared interrupting her studies and didn't engage her in much conversation. Her younger brother's situation was even stricter, and they could only contact her during his weekly break. In their last video call, she'd already seen a hint of the hardened soldier's spirit in him. Having finished her busy day, she wanted to have a good chat with her parents. Tong, you're just eating. Wu Jingzhang glanced at the clock. It was almost 8 o'clock. He'd already finished watching the news, the weather forecast, and listened to a few commercials. With their child away, he and his wife were a little uninspired. After more than 6 months of buffer time, they weren't quite used to their absence. Tong, it's a bit late for dinner. Wu Jinggai looked closely at Wu Tong in the camera. Daddy thinks you've been too busy lately. You've lost weight. No matter how busy you are with school, you still have to eat on time. Jin Yu, preparing lessons, paused and came over when he heard Tong's name. Wu Tong had told them that he was minoring in material science and had an academician as his teacher. As parents, they had no objection to their child's desire to learn more. From mathematics to the unfamiliar field of material science, while also juggling math studies, they had all gone through college and understood the academic pressure their child faced, double that of the average person. They were already behind the times in Wu Tong's research, so all they could do was support and sympathize. As long as Wu Tong didn't do anything that was against the will of heaven, endangered the country, or violated the law, they would always support her studies. They could only offer more advice and help with her daily life. I'm eating, I haven't lost any weight at all. The teacher came over today, and I talked to her, which delayed me for a while. I was eating the porridge she and my junior brought me. Look, our cafeteria's special cooking is so good, with so much to offer. Of course, she was sharing the good news with her parents. There's a kind of thinness where your parents think you're thin. Wu Tong smiled and turned the camera to focus on the porridge in her thermos, letting her parents see her dinner clearly. It was quite a feast. The top-quality beef was thinly sliced and lightly starched, and the porridge was cooked until thick and tender, almost instantly cooked. The tender pink color took up nearly a third of the porridge, and she was really generous with the ingredients. Thank you, Mr. Chang, for worrying about you. You should be more filial to the elders every day, serving them tea and water, and doing whatever you can to help them. The couple was truly grateful for the teacher's kindness to their child. They knew their child had a good teacher who took care of all aspects of life, but they couldn't let the teacher worry about their child all the time, could they? So, the couple unanimously urged Wu Tong to be sincere and dedicated. It would never go wrong. In a couple of days, your father and I will visit you during the National Day holiday. Ask the old man if he has time to take us to visit him and thank Mr. Cheng sincerely. And your teacher, Li, has been so helpful to you all the time. We should treat him to a nice meal, Teacher Jin pondered. They had already decided to visit Wu Tong in Beijing for National Day, and they had already booked the tickets long in advance, so Wu Tong wouldn't have to come home. It was already the end of September, and they would be in Beijing to see their daughter in just 2 days. Okay, are you all coming, Grandpa, Uncle, and everyone else? I'll pick you up at the airport, and we'll go straight home. The house is ready, Wu Tong made a note. She needed to contact the cleaning staff tomorrow to tidy up her room. She usually lived in the Yunnan dormitories, which were more convenient, and she hadn't stayed there yet. We're all there. No need for you to pick us up. We'll just take a taxi. They knew the route well after leaving the airport, and they were worried about Wu Tong running to the airport to pick them up. Just wait at school. We'll go straight to school. You won't have to run around and waste time. I just wanted to see you right away. In front of her parents, Wu Tong wasn't the leader of a national-level project. She was just a 17-year-old spoiled child, spoiled by her parents, acting like a spoiled brat and knowing exactly what her parents liked. Okay, be careful out there. As expected, Wu Tong had a pretty good grasp of her parents' minds. Parents always had no way around their children. Thinking that Wu Tong had already traveled back and forth between home and Beijing several times, occasionally taking a taxi to school, and possessing life experience, Jin Yu reluctantly agreed. They, too, wanted to see their child as soon as possible. Just wait at the airport exit. Don't wander around, and don't talk to strangers, Teacher Jin Yu, feeling Wu Tong was still young, kept making arrangements, repetitively, like she had when she was little. What once might have been considered nagging, Wu Tong now listened patiently and calmly, smiling. Only after loss do we appreciate things. If it weren't for the sorrow of the afterlife, how could she have known that having her mother healthy and nagging her was a great blessing? Wu Tong listened patiently, while teacher Jin, on the other hand, had lost her nagging. Alright, that's all for now. Eat and get some rest. Early to bed and early to rise is the key to good health. The child was already in college, achieving international renown. Wasn't her incessant lectures a bit too much? Okay, Mom, I'll do as you say. I'll wait for you to come to Beijing. Wu Tong ended the video call with a smile, and she truly obeyed her mother. After eating, washing up, and resting in bed, she made sure to replenish her energy and rest. This time, she took care to replenish her energy and rest. She sat facing the window. Around 5 o'clock, when the sun rose, the Chaoyong purple key technique would automatically circulate, regardless of her posture or movements. So, while she was no less intensive than the last nightly riving engine optimization parameters, the energy consumption wasn't as great. Still, after days of hard work, a good rest was a reward. Wu Tong didn't consider herself a workaholic, she simply had her inspirations coming more and more frequently. But who in academia or research doesn't want a constant flow of inspiration? So, she let it get to her, feeling fulfilled, happy, and healthy. Chapter 142 Invitation. After a good night's sleep, Wu Tong rose early for her usual morning exercises, feeling energized and full of energy. After breakfast, she went to the library to return all the books she had borrowed. Before entering the final stage, she had thoroughly studied and mastered them, fulfilling her mission. Returning books again? Which ones are you borrowing today? Let me help you find them, the library staff greeted Wu Tong with a smile. They knew her all too well. Over the past 6 months, Wu Tong's frequent visits to the library, coupled with her achievements, had made them all familiar with her. In fact, they were the first witnesses of Wu Tong's every effort and growth since she arrived at Peking University. The books she had studied could fill an entire storage room. If a child with such hard work didn't succeed, who would? As longtime Peking University staff, they loved children who loved learning and cherished the knowledge they learned from books. If any other students borrowed so many books, they would have suspected she was just messing around. But when it came to Wu Tong, they had no doubts and actively helped her find the books she needed. No, thank you. I have something to do today, so I won't be picking up the books yet. Could you please keep an eye on my suitcase? I'll take it with me when I come to pick it up. Thinking about his upcoming plans, Wu Tong, feeling the inconvenience of lugging his suitcase around, asked the staff if they could lend it to him. Of course, no problem. Feel free to put it there. The staff member took Wu Tong's suitcase and placed it securely against the wall of their workbench. Wu Tong, go ahead and do your work. The library closes late. I'll tell my colleagues next shift. Just come get it when you need it. Everyone knows you, thank you. After thanking him, Wu Tong left the library and headed to the Dean of the School of Mathematics office. Knock, knock, knock. Wu Tong politely knocked on the door, only to be allowed in. Wu Tong, it's been hard to see you lately. Pan Wenhua, who was reading documents, looked up and saw Wu Tong entering. He smiled, rose to greet her, and jokingly said, "Your words make me ashamed." It seemed as if she, a student from the School of Mathematics, hadn't fulfilled her duties as a student there. She'd been hanging around in the School of Material Science for the first month of school, appearing only at the opening class meetings and ceremonies. Wu Tong promised, "I'll try to study in our School of Mathematics as much as possible." Pan Wenhua smiled and waved his hand. "That's fine, as long as Wu Tong remembers that your heart is in the School of Mathematics and that you belong to us." He had been tired of seeing Old Man Chang's smug expression lately. "No matter where you are, the School of Mathematics will be your home forever." Pan Wenhua didn't mean to embarrass his student. He found a way out. Wu Tong really couldn't learn anything new in the School of Mathematics. As long as she didn't forget math, everything else was up to her. He hadn't expected Wu Tong's talent in material science to be as prodigious as her mathematical prowess. She'd made such a splash right after entering the material science field, immediately taking charge of a major nationally classified project. Although he didn't get the details, given his position and confidentiality clearance, he did get a basic understanding. Contributing to the country is always a good thing. "Wu Tong, don't worry, Pan Wenho pulled an invitation and certificate from his desk drawer and handed them to Wu Tong with a smile. Congratulations on becoming a member of the Chinese Mathematical Society. Welcome to the Chinese Mathematicians Congress on October 6 at the Shangjing Conference Center. In fact, when Wu Tong proved the Zhou conjecture, they had already planned to recommend him for membership in the Chinese Mathematical Society after he enrolled. Given his mathematical proficiency, not inviting him would have been a disgrace to the society. Unexpectedly, even before they could recommend him, Wu Tong made a series of major breakthroughs in July, proving two major conjectures in quick succession. In August, he even gave an hour-long talk at the International Congress of Mathematicians. The Chinese Mathematical Society was furious. Upon their return from Hydra, regardless of Wu Tong's supposed young age, they immediately extended an invitation to Peking University and appointed him an honorary board member. If they didn't grant Wu Tong membership, the authority of the Chinese Mathematical Society, not his membership at all, would be called into question. With the assistance of Peking University, all the formalities were completed and thoroughly implemented. They had been looking for an opportunity to give Wu Tong a chance, but who knew that Wu Tong had been busy with a confidential project since the beginning of the month, and they hadn't found a good opportunity to officially give him the opportunity. Finally, with a mixture of laughter and tears, they asked Yishan to inform Wu Tong to find a time to come and pick it up in person. I've been confused about material science lately, so I've been taking up some extra time. Wu Tong smiled sheepishly and took the briefcase Pan Wenho handed him. Is there anything I can do for the Chinese Mathematician Congress? Your achievements this year are brilliant. They'll ask you to give an hour-long presentation. Just detail your proof of infinite groups. We don't need to worry about producing another world-class result. Time was limited, so Pan Wenho made it clear that Wu Tong didn't need to retreat to produce a groundbreaking result. As for preparation, Wu Tong, having given hour-long presentations at the International Congress of Mathematicians, had seen the grand scale of such a grand occasion, so there was no need for long advanced preparation. Okay, Dean Pan, I'll be ready, Wu Tong nodded. This is easy. If she really needs to come up with new mathematical results, she will have to rack her brains to tinker with them. Her recent achievements are all about materials. She can't talk about material science at a mathematics conference. What's more, she can't talk about anything else except the theoretical model. Go, continue with your work. I know you're short on time, so I won't waste your time. Pan Wenho smiled and waved his hand. He had finished explaining his work. In fact, he could have arranged for someone to deliver it to Wu Tong, but since he submitted it personally, he attached more importance to it. Besides, he also wanted to contact Wu Tong and have a chat. Happy National Day in advance. I'm leaving first. Wu Tong didn't hesitate. She really had something to do. What the teacher said vaguely yesterday should be that the project team had received data feedback, and she had to go and see the details. Good morning, Wu Tong. After swiping the card and entering the laboratory, everyone who saw Wu Tong greeted him respectfully with a smile. No matter how young Wu Tong was, after going through 2 projects, the laboratory treated Wu Tong as a small boss and a leader with respect. The name Wu Xin that made Wu Tong a little embarrassed has now become a common name, blooming everywhere. After being called by people for a long time, Wu Tong just thought it was her own name, and she was used to it. To be honest, she faced it calmly and without any shame. Teacher, Wu Tong first went to Chang Lao's office to report to Chang Lao, and then returned to her own office, turned on her work computer, and logged into the system. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 143 Good News. Messages kept popping up one after another. She hadn't logged into the system for the past 2 days, and she had accumulated quite a bit of information. Knowing that Wu Tong was busy with research recently, and that Lu Xiao and Yang Wei didn't have anything urgent that required Wu Tong's intervention, they chose to send messages directly to Wu Tong, waiting for her to log in and read them later. Wu Tong opened the messages one after another and couldn't help but smile. It turned out to be good news. While she was immersed in the derivation of the Koban effect model, Yang Wei, chief engineer of the 614th Institute of Xi'an Aircraft Industry Corporation, led the core team, working day and night, racing against time, not daring to waste a single minute. Finally, on September 27, they completed the re-preparation of all the core components with optimized parameters, and successfully replicated the preparation of the T5 blade material at Xi'an Aircraft Industry Corporation. Combined with the materials they had previously repeatedly verified and prepared, they installed the WS-15 with the core components prepared using the optimized parameters, making the WS-15 look brand new and ready for retesting. Aircraft engines operate under extremely demanding conditions, subject to high temperatures, high pressures, and high rotational speeds. To maximize their performance, reliability, and lifespan, before actual flight tests on a fighter jet, they must thoroughly understand the engine's temperature, pressure, corrosion, clearances, and stresses under various operating conditions. These tests are repeated countless times, ensuring no errors are overlooked. Any flaw will be magnified in space. The training and life of any pilot are invaluable, and the cost of any fighter jet is measured in billions. They cannot afford even the slightest error. Otherwise, the worst-case scenario of a crash with fatalities is a heartbreaking loss they simply cannot afford. While Wu Tong was entering his inspirational time, thousands of miles away at the Xi'an Aircraft Research Institute, specialized testing equipment had been thoroughly inspected and confirmed to be fault-free. Standing in the main control room of the test bench, Yang Wei clenched his fists, held his breath, and forcefully issued the order to begin the test run. After years of hard work and a month of dedication, the results were about to be revealed. He was both excited and nervous to see just how high the performance of the new generation WS-15 could reach. If successful, the WS-15's performance would mark a milestone for China Airlines and China Engines. Failure would most likely be due to human error. They'd expended vast sums of money and resources, all squandered by their mistakes, failing to achieve the desired results. This would undoubtedly deal a fatal blow to the WS-15 project team's accumulated momentum. The seconds ticked by with Yang Wei's anticipation, the entire 614th Institute revolving around this test run like clockwork. Then, his assistant engineer ran up to him, a look of excitement on his face, and Yang Wei's eyes locked on him. "Have you got the test data? Are there any issues? Focus on the key points." Yang Wei's fingers trembled. Reporting to Mr. Yang, the test run was a great success. The assistant couldn't contain his excitement at the data. "The data is very good. The new generation WS-15 has an intermediate thrust of approximately 22.7 tons and a maximum thrust of 26.8 tons, with a thrust-to-weight ratio of 15.1. This is even better than our highest expectations and better than our previous simulations. We've increased the turbine inlet temperature to 2,200 degrees Celsius, and the fan temperature is between 1,100 and 1,300 degrees Celsius. How are the blades performing? You have to remember that their turbine inlet temperature was previously only 1,500 to 1,600 degrees Celsius, but now it has suddenly increased by 600 to 700 degrees Celsius. In aviation, even a 100-degree increase is extremely difficult, let alone a difference of 600 to 700 degrees Celsius. The heat resistance and creep resistance limits of many materials have been far exceeded. Can their new blade material withstand such extreme temperatures? This temperature was also the result of their careful consideration and determination. No problem. The new T5 blade material handles it effortlessly. All creep and high temperature deformation are well within a low, controllable range, far from reaching their maximum values. We tried hitting it to 2,400 degrees for a while, and it remained stable. The assistant's voice grew increasingly excited, nearly breaking. We also checked the combustion chamber, turbine, high-pressure engine. They all performed just as well as the simulation data, and even better, the simulation data had already stunned them, but they hadn't expected the real data to be even better. The high-altitude tests were also expected to be trouble-free. Our WS-15 has truly overcome all its weaknesses and been reborn. Good, 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 Yang Wei uttered 3 good words in a trembling voice. Compared to his assistant, he felt even more deeply for this engine. The WS-15 was like his child. He personally touched every bolt, every rivet, every component, and watched over every pipe and every sheet metal. He watched as piles of design data were transformed into various materials, then formed into components, and finally assembled into the WS-15. Like every parent with high expectations for their children, he was no exception. Since the WS-15's birth in 2006, he has been committed to improving it, and through materials and technology, it has become even better with each successive generation. He planned to devote the rest of his life to pursuing this goal. However, he could not have imagined that in just 4 years, or even just 1 month, a miracle would come. By optimizing parameters and designing and developing the most important blade materials, the WS-15 would be reborn and reach unprecedented heights, surpassing the figures he had only dreamed of, reaching figures he had spent his entire life pursuing but never dared to imagine. Tears welled up in his eyes, a feeling of excitement. His child, on his first major test of a new life, had passed with a perfect score. In a trembling voice, he spoke deeply into the control room microphone. I declare the WS-15's ground test a complete success. Starting today, the new generation of WS-15, renamed the WS-15S, rises from the ashes like a phoenix, its dazzling halo ablaze with heat. Suddenly, cheers of joy echoed from every corner of the research institute. Success, truly success. Their months' hard work paid off. China's fighter jet has finally entered a new chapter, having completely overcome its heart disease problem. Their engines are constantly striving for improvement. And so are the Chinese people. It will shine like a star, illuminating the world, its divine light beholding its brilliance. Yang Wei remained restless for a long time. While his assistant went off to compile more detailed data, he returned to his office and immediately logged into the system to express his sincerest gratitude and share the latest good news with Wu Tong, their chief consultant and benefactor of the WS-15S's resurgence. If possible, he truly wanted to thank their Purple Star in person. After transmitting the latest data and information, Yang Wei picked up the secure phone and called Zhizhao 606th Research Institute. Lu Xiao, this is Yang Wei. Thankfully, I fulfilled my mission. The WS-15's ground test was a resounding success, with excellent data. We will complete final engine delivery within 2 weeks. Chapter 144 Foundation. Yang Wei reported the relevant data concisely and forcefully, breathing a sigh of relief. Now, Lu Xiao couldn't say anything more maliciously about their engine being ailing, could he? I'll send you the detailed test data later. We've completed the engine mission. It's up to you to get the Chinese Eagle airborne. Besides the engine, the fighter's radar, flight control, combustion, weapons, are all crucial components. Their superior complement to the engine now provides robust and ample power for these components. Even through the phone line, Lu Xiao could sense the man's deep sense of pride. Indeed, wherever he went, Mr. Yang Wei would proudly boast about this data, his head held high. Everyone would praise him, saying, "This angle is unique." Lu Xiao wasn't surprised by this data. He had witnessed the design of the optimized engine parameters and blade materials firsthand, and had derived the results upon his return. He already had a rough idea of the engine's achievable performance and had been eagerly awaiting the release of real data for the new generation of engines. This data was within the limits of his derivation. Wu Tong was amazing. Yang Wei and all the experimental staff at the 614th Institute must have been striving for perfection, working day and night. They'd been incredibly hard-working. No problem, Director Yang, thank you for your hard work. We will live up to your trust and surpass you, Lu Xiao reassured them with his unwavering goal. Time was tight, the test flight wouldn't be in time for Motherland's birthday and National Day, but they would do their utmost to ensure the brand new J-20 took off smoothly and entered service by New Year's Day. He was also waiting to invite Wu Tong to Zhizhao to witness the J-20's test flight launch. The T4 titanium aluminum alloy, with all equipment fully integrated, had officially entered production reserve, awaiting commissioning. According to projected experimental simulation data, using T4 titanium aluminum alloy for the fuselage would reduce the aircraft's weight by nearly 1/3 compared to previous models. With the addition of a reduced weight engine, this weight reduction could be further increased. This figure is already comparable to, and even surpasses, those of some large area carbon fiber composite materials, while also avoiding some of the shortcomings of composite materials. Reduced weight means fighter aircraft can fly higher, faster, and farther, while also saving fuel, allowing them to carry more weapons and equipment, as well as auxiliary fuel tanks, expanding their combat radius, significantly increasing their speed and altitude, and enabling them to maneuver and adapt to the demands of air combat. Striving to reduce every gram of aircraft weight is the motto of aircraft designers worldwide. It is also his unwavering pursuit. Back in the day, Chinese researchers painstakingly reduced the weight of the Chinese J-7E fighter by 40 kilograms. While these 40 kilograms may seem insignificant compared to the fighter's inherent weight, they actually increase the J-7E's turning rate by nearly 1 degree, its climb rate by over 3 meters per second, and the ability to carry dozens more cannon rounds. Now, with the superior performance of the new T4 and T5 materials, the J-20's weight will be reduced to a formidable level. With a near-perfect design and a world-class engine, the J-20 will truly soar into the skies. Its speed and performance exceeding all expectations. Everything is ready, only the east wind is missing. With the fastest speed, the strongest power, and the longest range, the J-20 is about to take off. Wu Tong reviewed the data sent by the two experts. Chief Engineer Yang's data included test data from the WS-15S, which met her predictions. Lu Xiao's data included detailed wind tunnel simulation data. Following the appointment of General Consultant of the 614th Institute, Lu Xiao also gave Wu Tong the title of Consultant at the 606th Institute, giving him legitimate access to this information. Of course, this was based on Wu Tong's existing confidentiality clearance. A wind tunnel simulation involves placing an aircraft model in a wind tunnel, artificially controlling the airflow, and studying the flow of air around the aircraft and its interaction with the model to understand the aerodynamic characteristics of the actual aircraft. Wu Tong recently wanted to study the NS equations, and the simulation data was of great value to her. The flow of water in the ocean, the swirling winds in the atmosphere, the airflow around airplane wings. The motion of fluids in nature has always been related to the NS equations, described and simulated by the Navier-Stokes equations, NS equations. The existence and smoothness of the NS equations, as well as their general solutions, have long been insurmountable obstacles in mathematics, stymieing mathematicians worldwide. Wu Tong took on this major problem, one of the 7 major problems of the Millennium Development Goals, without intending to tackle it all at once. It's the gods who can instantly solve any problem, but she's just an ordinary person with a bit of talent, not yet reaching the divine foresight. To solve this problem, she still has a lot of room for improvement in both mathematics and physics. However, one must first have an idea and a goal before planning towards it. Just like when entering elementary school, one dreams of attending either Tsinghua University or Peking University. Regardless of which one, achieving the goal requires diligent study throughout elementary, middle, and high school. Wu Tong is doing just that, intensively studying physics, especially fluid mechanics, and delving into mathematical nonlinear equations. She's also collecting data related to this sector. Only with a solid foundation can she build a skyscraper and possibly top it out. Wu Tong spent a day analyzing and studying the 2 data sets, noting down her insights and a few questions she had about the NS equations and dynamics. Under the moonlight, she went to the library and selected books based on her research interests. This time, physics books dominated the list. Starting the next day, Wu Tong decided to finish her paper on the Koban effect model and submit it as soon as possible. Based on the theoretical model, she deduced and completed the verification data, and Wu Tong spent the last day of September step by step. Around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Wu Tong began to pack up and leave her office. She first went to Cheng Huinen's office and said to him, "Teacher, I have to go to the airport to pick up my family. They will arrive at the airport around 5 o'clock, so I'm leaving today." Grandpa and Uncle had made preparations in advance, and Mom and Dad each took the afternoon off. As soon as work was over at noon, the whole family rushed to the airport and waited for the flight on time. Thanks to Jin Yuan and Wu Jingzhong, who had taken Wu Tong to the airport many times to check in, and were familiar with the process, Wu Tong did not miss her flight and successfully boarded her usual flight to Beijing. Chapter 145 Protection. Is it arriving today? The whole family is here, right? Cheng Huinan pushed his glasses. He remembered seeing Wu Tong in a good mood a few days ago and asking her about it. It should be her parents and her grandfather's family. Wait a minute, I'll call and borrow a car from the school, Cheng Huinan arranged with a smile. Don't bother the school, taxis are quite convenient. Wu Tong didn't want to bother the school with her personal matters. Taxis were readily available at the airport, so getting around was still convenient. Cheng Huinan waved his hand and made the call. After making the arrangements, he said, "This isn't a bother, it's necessary. Security personnel will be accompanying you when you travel now. Our school's own cars are more reliable, so they can follow you from the shadows. Your safety is more important than you think." Wu Tong was involved in a considerable amount of confidential data. Furthermore, with the T4 and T5 materials entering production and undergoing onboard testing, the absolute leap forward in the WS-15S's performance further demonstrated Wu-Tong's irreplaceable importance. Wu-Tong's presence had moved her directly from the priority list to the confidential list, naturally boosting security even further. For researchers like Wu-Tong, who could radically advance Chinese science and technology, the importance of their work could never be overstated. If it weren't for Wu-Tong's youth and peak growth, and the fact that her status couldn't be publicly announced for her protection, she would already have her own security detail. Wu-Tong was a little surprised. She'd always been at school, traveling between labs and dormitories, and hadn't really realized how different she was. We've arranged a minibus for you. Security personnel will be your driver, co-driver, and tour guide. The bus is coming soon, and I'll take you to meet them. Wu-Tong knew she had someone assigned to protect her, but she hadn't really met them yet. Cheng Huinan smiled and said, "Don't worry, we're taking precautions. The tour guide is a native of Shanghai and has great eloquence. He'll definitely make your family's trip to Shanghai a joy." Because of Wu-Tong's importance, the guards assigned to her were experienced elites, unlike greenhorns who might falter and cause suspicion and awkwardness, leading to Wu-Tong's family becoming uneasy. As the master and disciple walked outside, they saw a minibus parked in front of the laboratory. It had about 10 seats, enough for a family and security personnel. "This bus is yours for use during the National Day holiday. When you no longer need it, you can return it to the school. The school doesn't have any urgent needs during the National Day holiday. Of course, you'll have to use the fuel yourself, and the cost of vehicle wear and tear will be deducted from your salary." To avoid being accused of using a company vehicle for personal purposes, Cheng Huinan tactfully helped Wu-Tong circumvent the issue. Wu-Tong didn't mind the fuel and wear and tear costs. Pointing to the car, Cheng Huinan introduced the three people who had disembarked and greeted Wu-Tong. "This is Comrade Ke Yi, the captain of the action team responsible for your protection, along with Wang Jin and Wenshu. Xiaoan will be your tour guide." "Hello, Commander." Ke Yi and the other two raised their hands in a standard salute. Although Wu-Tong currently held no official title, he was their central point of operations and their commander for the protection missions they had been assigned. Not to mention, they had briefly reviewed the classified information and the absolute importance of this young student. They were proud to be on this mission to protect this child. "Hello, sorry to bother you. Just call me by my name, Wu-Tong." Suddenly startled by the unusual address and salute, Wu-Tong reacted, flustered and hurried. "It's no problem." Wu-Tong was mostly at school, his routine a constant, saving them so much trouble. Holiday trips and family visits were normal. They could just make adequate preparations for protection in advance. They couldn't let Wu-Tong be confined to school forever, feeling like he was in prison, just because they were worried about trouble. What a shame for such a talented child. Ke Yi smiled, his earlier military fortitude vanishing. His entire demeanor suddenly transformed, instantly transforming him into someone unnoticeable in the crowd. While his features remained the same, he had performed a dramatic transformation, demonstrating Wu-Tong's unique skills. Behind him, Wang Jin and Wenshu underwent the same transformation, becoming unnoticeable passers-by. Wu-Tong was so amazed that he couldn't help but stare at it. "Amazing? It's nothing special, it's just basic operation." Ke Yi smiled, revealing his bright white teeth. Without this skill, how could those working on the security front hide and protect their special targets? They were showing off their expertise, letting Wu-Tong witness their professional skills and gain confidence in their abilities. They were accompanying him, so he wouldn't be looked at strangely. Every profession has its own specialties. Wu-Tong, go ahead. Spend National Day relaxing with your family. You can't just slaving away in the lab all the time. If there are any problems, we old guys will handle it. It's not time to pressure you young people." Cheng Huinan smiled and waved to Wu-Tong, escorting him to the car. Wu-Tong had an idea, so he could just persevere. On weekdays, he didn't need to be constantly in the lab. During the first month of school, the children had been working non-stop, and he couldn't be so tense all the time. Wu-Tong's family's arrival was just the right time to let him relax, and cheer up. "Okay, teacher, can you spare some time one of these 2 days? My parents want to visit you." Before leaving, Wu-Tong and Cheng Huinan made an appointment in advance. Teachers are busy on weekdays, too. When they're busy, they don't have many days off. "You're welcome anytime. Just let me know before you come. I'm at school lately and won't be leaving." His focus lately has been assisting Wu Tong in completing the research and development of 2 new alloys. This is his most important task. So, whereas he used to join the project team anytime after school started, this month he's participating directly from Peking University. After bidding farewell to his teacher, Wu Tong followed Cheng Yi into the car. Wang Ji drove, and Wenchu sat to Wu Tong's inside, and Kei Yi sat across the aisle on the other side, naturally forming a protective corner posture, truly integrating protection into their daily actions and embodying it in every moment. On the way, Kei Yi and Wu Tong explained their arrangements. Wu Tong, during the National Day holiday, we will intervene in your surroundings as a tour group to protect your safety. Wenchu will be your guide and responsible for your personal protection. Wang Ji and I will be responsible for following and guarding. If there is anything unusual, just gather around Wenchu. Wang Ji and I will coordinate the surroundings and protect your family. Of course, if you feel that there is something inappropriate, you can communicate with us at any time. We will make changes based on your opinions. They are responsible for protecting Wu Tong, not restricting Wu Tong. This point must be clearly distinguished. Don't worry, this is our duty and mission. Chapter 146 Calculation. Wu Tong nodded, understanding that all arrangements were made under special circumstances. She hadn't previously displayed any abilities beyond mathematics, and generally didn't attract any special attention. However, neither she nor Kei Yi and the others would gamble on a 1 in a million chance of success. I have some self-protection skills. If necessary, please look after my family. They were on the same side, and Wu Tong felt it necessary to reveal her true strength. I'm stronger than most people, and I know some traditional martial arts. Her morning Tai Chi practice, through constant practice and insight, aided by the Enlightenment Stone tablet, had culminated in a near martial arts level. She diligently cultivated her skills. Although I don't have much combat experience, I know math. Barring firearms, I can easily handle a few people. The direction of a punch, the angle of avoidance, these were all within her calculation range. This was her strength. Okay, we understand. As long as you're not in danger, we'll protect your family first, but ultimately, you're our priority. Kei Yi nodded. Wu Tong's ability to protect herself was a valuable asset to their work. Wu Tong had a daily morning exercise routine, including boxing. Having protected him for a while, they were somewhat aware of this. Let's have a sparring match sometime, so we can assess your abilities. Could actual combat even be calculated? For those whose bodies' reactions outpaced their brains' predictions, it was a bit hard to imagine. Wang Ji was a skilled driver. They'd set off after 4 a.m., and Wu Tong had already prepared for a late arrival, making his parents wait a bit. But unexpectedly, thanks to Wang Ji's steady, smooth, and precise driving, they arrived at Beijing Capital International Airport just in time for 5 a.m. After parking the car and waiting at the terminal exit, Wu Tong heard the airport announcement that his family's flight had landed. Before long, Wu Tong spotted his family among the crowd exiting, and with a smile and a wave, he went forward to greet them. Grandpa, Grandma, how was the plane? Anything uncomfortable? Hugging each family member, Wu Tong held the elders' hands, asking with concern. The 2 elders had never been on a plane before, and she was worried that there would be some discomfort. Don't worry, granddaughter, Grandpa is fine. No, it feels so beautiful. Whoosh, we're up in the sky, flying above the clouds. In the past, only gods could do that. It's amazing. I just took a nap and we landed in the capital in 2 hours. It was so fast. I really appreciate it. Grandma Jin was still a little excited about her first time on a plane. She patted Wu Tong's hand and shared her little feelings with her. In order to spend more time with their children, the 2 old bones did morning exercises and fitness. They enjoyed their meals very much this year, and all their minor ailments were gone. They are in great shape. They flew steadily and adapted better to it than some young people. Tong, don't worry. Wu Tong smiled and nodded, saying hopefully, it'll be even faster in the future, as 614th Army fully integrates all the WS-15S's technologies. The high-end version will be classified for military use, but some non-classified technologies are expected to be developed into low-end versions and gradually rolled out to the civilian market. This will further accelerate the development of China's large aircraft. With technological advancements and increased civil aviation speeds, flight times will naturally decrease accordingly. Shangjing Airport is so huge. If I didn't follow the flow of people, I'd be completely lost on my own. Su Mifeng sighed. She had flown before, but airports of Shengjing's scale were rare in China. It's inevitable. It's the capital, after all. A capital airport must have the grandeur of a capital. Think of the Tang dynasty, when nations flocked to pay tribute. Our capital airport must also reflect the grandeur of a great nation. Jin Yuan was proud. Besides Tong, this was not his first time here, which made him quite knowledgeable. You're the only one showing off. Su Mifeng rolled her eyes at her husband, which made him seem knowledgeable. Wu Tong laughed. His aunt and uncle were still so lively. Come on, Grandpa, Grandma, let's go home first and talk later. Hearing this, Kei Yi and the other two, who had tacitly lagged behind Wu Tong in the family reunion, stepped forward and helped take the extra suitcases from Jin Yuan and Wu Jingzhong. Tong, what's this? Two grown men came up, and Wu Jingzhong's eyelids twitched. His father's alarm bells instantly rang. His daughter was only 17, and she didn't need other people's pigs to pounce on his little cabbage and show their affection. They could consider their daughter's marriage 10 or 20 years later. They were not in a hurry at all. He had thought that these three people were the people who were meeting other passengers at the airport and waiting for them. Were the tour guide team hired by Ms. Wu Tong. We'll be responsible for your travel, safety, and tourist attractions during your trip to Beijing. Kei Yi acted as expertly as any tour group, smiling warmly and introducing them attentively. I'm Xiao Kei, and this is Xiao Wang. We'll be replacing the driver and providing security for the others along the tour. This is Xiao Wen, responsible for introducing the attractions along the way. Why did Tong even hire a tour guide? We can just take a casual stroll and see the sights. Jin Yuan scratched his head. His daughter had made such thoughtful arrangements. She even had dedicated security? Was she worried they'd be bullied in an unfamiliar place? This treatment was too extravagant. Were they already enjoying their daughter's filial piety? How unexpected. But seeing the family's wide smiles, their hearts overflowed with joy. It was just that it cost the child quite a bit, and it was embarrassing to spend so much money on him. Remember to give Tong some pocket money before going home. Everyone's here, so let's take a good look around. It'll make our trip to Shanghai even more worthwhile. Aren't the arrangements made by professionals more thorough? I've been in Shanghai for over half a year, constantly stuck in Beijing University. I'm not familiar with the city, so I can't really use it. It's a great opportunity for you guys to take me on a tour of Shanghai. Let's explore the city with a group. Okay, let's take Tong on a tour, Jin Yuqing said heartily. His precious granddaughter was so pitiful. She'd been studying in school all her life in Shanghai, never getting to play outside. Su Mifeng took Jin Yu's hand and asked Wu Tong about her life in Shanghai. Jin Xin asked, and it was all about training and studying. Basically, that was all. The young man was energetic and didn't seem to miss his mother at all. He was really wasting her time. After avoiding the confidentiality part, Wu Tong spoke in detail with her family, focusing on her daily life, her diet and rest. Her life was basically just around campus, nothing much to do. My family members don't find it boring and we can chat about our daily lives slowly. Chapter 147 Home. The family didn't find Wu Tong's stories dull at all. Even hearing about what he ate every day, what dishes were available at the Shengjing University cafeteria, which restaurants were there, and what time breaks were, all fascinated them, allowing them to vividly imagine Wu Tong's life at school. Su Mifeng was filled with envy. As expected, her daughter was the best. When the boy asked about school life, he always gave a perfunctory answer with a single sentence, hanging up the phone after just a few words. His mother was practically swallowing glass shards. Wow, this car is so spacious. After the family climbed in, Jin Yuqing looked around curiously. From the outside, their car looked like an ordinary minibus, but the interior was vast, a 14-seat coaster. Special sunshades on all four sides ensured privacy and transparency. The seats inside were one row smaller than those in ordinary minibuses, and the fully enclosed seats were custom-made and fully leather-covered, comfortable and stylish. This car was originally used by the school leadership for group meetings. When Chang Lao coordinated for it, the office certainly wouldn't hesitate, so they dispatched this car. Since there weren't any group meetings for school leadership during the National Day holiday, it was a sign of special respect for Wu Tong, the user of the car. Jin Yuan and Wu Jingzhong exchanged glances, their feelings similar. Are travel agencies so generous these days? Wu Jingzhong dared to say that even county leaders might not receive such privileges when they went out for meetings. For those at the department level, forget it. Buses, bicycles, and old, beat-up vehicles are the norm. Teacher, help me borrow this car from the school. Does Grandpa like it? We can get a smaller one later. Something like my uncle's car is perfect. The minibus-sized coaster was a bit too big for their family's personal use. An 8-9-seater would be more than enough for their group travel. It would be more convenient for parking, getting in and out, and driving. Wu Tong's initial interest in dynamics stemmed from her desire to optimize the parameters of domestically produced automobile engines and build a high-quality, multi-passenger vehicle. However, as strange as it is, before she could truly master automobile engines, she was suddenly inspired to leap from materials to aircraft engines. Fortunately, while the engines she developed differed greatly, the ultimate goal was the same. The $1 million grant from Peking University was enough for her to buy a comfortable car for her family. Research on mechanical engines would have to wait until Wu Tong completed her current project. My scholarship has been fully credited, and I've done a special research project. The university has also provided additional funding. I'll decide this time. You guys are responsible for researching what to buy. Let's buy a comfortable car. From now on, you can drive around and explore. She and her brother were away from home, which was unfillable. She needed to find a way to enrich her family's lives and prevent them from being lonely and bored. The car was primarily for family use, not for her. She wasn't old enough to get a formal driver's license, and she was mostly at school, with someone to pick her up for the occasional trip, so she didn't need a car at the moment. Okay, my uncle will get rid of that old car later, and we'll look into it and buy a new one. His daughter was already an internationally renowned scholar, so a nice car was necessary to transport her around in style. His daughter deserved something nice. Tomorrow is National Day. Let's go early to watch the flag-raising ceremony. It's a grand occasion you won't want to miss. Tomorrow is also a special day. After the flag-raising, let's go have a special breakfast at Old Shangjing, and then, the family chatted happily, and after listening to Wenxu outline the itinerary for the trip, they arrived home. They toured Wu Tong's house inside and out, marveling at its excellence and grateful for the school's generosity. Wu Tong had the community service center clean the house, and it was ready for move-in. Wu Tong wasn't going back to school today, so he stayed with his family. The 3-bedroom house, with some coordination, was just enough for the family. The old couple Jin Yongqing shared one room, brothers Wu Jingzhong and Jin Yuan shared one, and Wu Tong, his mother, and his aunt shared another, just right. The rooms were large enough, each equipped with a 2-by-2-meter bed, so the three of them could share a room without feeling crowded. They watched the flag-raising ceremony, viewed the monument to the people's heroes, strolled in front of the Great Hall of the People, visited the Forbidden City, toured the top two universities on their doorstep, and then took a look at the nearby Summer Palace. They walked through the old alleys to experience the culture of old Beijing and savored the unique cuisine. The arrangements made by Yi and the other two were thoughtful and detailed. They had the support of behind-the-scenes channels, and their arrangements were even more detailed and interesting than those made by ordinary travel agencies. The family's trip was a real feast for the eyes. On October 2nd, when the family visited Peking University, they specifically asked Wu Tong to take them to the School of Materials Science and Engineering to thank Professor Cheng for taking such good care of Wu Tong. Brother Jin, I want to thank you for nurturing such an outstanding Wu Tong and giving me such a brilliant student. Let's celebrate together. Cheng Huanan, smiling, took Jin Yongqing with him, treating him like a brother, and walked around the School of Materials Science and Engineering. He gave the family a thorough introduction to the department before parting ways with Cheng Huanan, who was not disturbed by the family. Before the holiday, Li Yisheng had promised his children a trip. He and his wife, Professor Chen, had taken the children on a trip. They were not at Peking University for the time being, so they wouldn't be able to see each other for the time being. When contacted by phone, Li Yisheng complained wearily, "Why bother traveling? All it takes is seeing crowds, mountains and mountains crammed with people, and then waiting in line for 2 hours for just 1 minute." Disappointing wasn't enough to describe how he felt at that moment. They just zipped through one place and rushed to the next, like they were on a whirlwind tour. Traveling was no longer a relaxing experience, but a tense battle. Rather than this kind of hassle, Li Yisheng would rather have his vacation over and back at school. "I would rather take 100 classes than rush to travel during holidays." Well, Wu Tong's family also had this feeling. They watched the flag-raising ceremony. Fortunately, Kei Yi and others helped to look after it. And Wu Tong could also help, otherwise they would have almost squeezed out everyone. However, they got there early and stood in the front, fulfilling the family's wish to watch the flag-raising ceremony. The loud national anthem, the bright red national flag, and the solemn soldiers. Any Chinese who saw this scene was in awe and spontaneously sang along with the national anthem. On the 6th, the family planned to go to Xiangshan Park to enjoy the scenery. After returning, they could also go to Wangfujing Street and buy some souvenirs to give to neighbors and colleagues. However, starting from this day, Wu Tong could not accompany them. The Chinese Mathematician Congress opened today, and Wu Tong was going to attend the opening ceremony. Chapter 148 Escort. Grandpa, Grandma, take your time and have fun. Wu Tong saw off her family early. Kei Yi and the other two arranged for Wang Ji and An Wenshu to accompany Wu Tong's family and continue their outing. Kei Yi would arrive later to pick up Wu Tong and escort him to the meeting. Tong, just go and get busy. The child had been with them for 5 or 6 days and was doing well. Wu Tong, get in the car. Pan Wenhu and Zhou Wenping smiled and waved from a 7-seater commercial vehicle at the entrance to Yan'an. Li Yishan, who had just returned the previous night, was also there. Dean Pan, Professor Zhou, Teacher Li, Wu Tong greeted each one and then climbed into the back seat with Chang Yi. Let's go. Pan Wenhui smiled meaningfully, thinking about the news he had just received, which was basically confirmed. At the Shangjing Conference Center, a red carpet had been rolled out, banners were hung, and electronic screens were broadcasting messages celebrating the convening of the 10th National Congress of the Chinese Mathematical Society. The atmosphere was already brewing. Many mathematicians attending the conference had already arrived in Beijing yesterday and checked into the nearest hotel. They arrived early this morning in formal attire. Before the meeting even started, most of the participants were talking in groups of 3 or 5, and from time to time, you could hear someone excitedly shouting, "Professor so-and-so, it's an honor to meet you." In addition to basic academic exchanges, the more important thing about academic exchange conferences is that people want to take this opportunity to make more friends. If they can make friends with someone more powerful than themselves, they will be rich. Pan Wenhua, Zhou Wenping, Wu Tong, and Li Yishan arrived not too early, as the other participants from Peking University had already arrived. Whether it was Pan Wenhua, a leading figure in the Chinese mathematical community and the dean of the School of Mathematics at Peking University, or Zhou Wenping, a candidate for academician of the Chinese Academy of Sciences and a pillar of the Chinese mathematical community who was about to receive the highest honor, both of them were eye-catching when they arrived. Wu Tong, who arrived with them and walked between them, added to the attention. The constant stream of headlines made Wu Tong's face a household name in Chinese mathematics circles. No one would question her youthful appearance. On the international stage, untouchable to most present, this young woman had already established herself and brought glory to her country. They, having lived decades longer than her and achieved nothing, weren't they ashamed enough? That must be Wu Tong from Peking University. Peking University's feng shui is truly flourishing this year. Many mathematicians from other universities looked on from afar, their hearts seething with envy. Of course, some were jealous of Wu Tong. With so many achievements at such a young age, any one of them would bring her international acclaim. The dean and vice dean of Peking University's School of Mathematics, two powerful figures, protected her and looked upon her with the utmost respect. Such a splendid treatment. Wu Tong, with her experience, had learned to ignore the mixed gazes. She followed the guidance of her two teachers, steadily moving forward step by step. Through their introductions, she met many outstanding figures in Chinese mathematics, many of whom were at the same level as herself. The two of them diligently used their connections to pave the way for Wu Tong, ensuring that those harsh words could not reach Wu Tong. Chang Yi, disguised as an assistant, followed Zhou Wenping. This way, if he followed Wu Tong alone, it would only make people think that Professor Zhou was worried about Wu Tong being alone and had specially arranged for his assistant to accompany him. As the opening ceremony approached, all attendees entered the venue and took their seats. The Chinese Mathematical Society's Members' Congress was modeled after the International Congress of Mathematicians, so the highlights of the opening ceremony were also the outlook on new developments in Chinese mathematics and the awards ceremony. At 9 o'clock, the conference officially opened. Academician Shen, president of the Chinese Mathematical Society, stepped onto the stage and delivered an opening speech under the watchful eyes of the crowd. International guest mathematician Xing Tunyu then took the stage to give speeches, warming up the conference, summarizing the present and looking forward to the future. The atmosphere of the opening ceremony gradually heated up, and then entered the main event, the awarding of the Hua Luojing Mathematics Award and the Chern Mathematics Award. The Hua Prize is awarded to senior scholars over 50 years old who have made significant contributions to the Chinese mathematical community, while the Chen Prize is for young and middle-aged scholars under 50. Each award is presented to only 2 individuals per year. In addition to certificates and medals, each recipient also receives a cash prize of 100,000 yuan. While 100,000 yuan may not seem like much to many prominent figures, its significance is truly remarkable. The Chinese Chern Prize in Mathematics is particularly noteworthy, often referred to as the Chinese equivalent of the Philippine Prize. This year's Hua Luojing Mathematics Prizes, with academician Shen's congratulatory words, the 2 winners of this year's Hua Luojing Mathematics Prize were announced. Wu Tong was no stranger to them. One was Professor Wen from Peking University, whose class Wu had attended. The other was Professor Liu Dapan. They had both attended the Hydra International Congress of Mathematicians and delivered hour-long presentations. Both winners have made significant contributions to the Chinese mathematical community, earning their recognition. Soon, the moment of celebration arrived. Amidst the enthusiastic applause and gazes of the attendees, Xing Tunyu stepped onto the stage, shook hands with academician Shen, and accepted the microphone he offered. The Chinese Fields Medal Chern Prize in Mathematics will be presented by this bona fide Fields medalist. When the applause died down, Mr. Chu smiled and began, from the anti-Japanese war to the founding of the People's Republic of China, from the turbulent times to the prosperity and stability of today, Chinese mathematicians have weathered many hardships and come this far, and this is inseparable from the unremitting efforts of all of you here. He flipped open the card in his hand. Even though he knew the name on the list in advance, he was still surprised. I'm honored to announce the winners of this year's Chern Prize in Mathematics today. The first winner is Wu Tong. I'm sure you're all familiar with her major achievements. From the stunning Zhou conjecture to the twin prime conjecture, the Poulenc conjecture, and the infinite group proof method. She transformed these 3 conjectures into the Zhou theorem, the twin prime theorem, and the Poulenc theorem. She has firmly etched the name of a Chinese in the history of mathematics. The world is proud of her, and our country is proud of her. I'm delighted that mathematics has become incredibly young, and I'm delighted that, driven by China, mathematics has made great strides forward. He was delighted that the domestic culture was changing, no longer emphasizing seniority over genuine academic merit. Even before Mr. Chu finished speaking, the audience erupted in laughter. Wu Tong was a familiar name, having taken the spotlight both domestically and internationally in recent months. But what was this, the Chern Prize in Mathematics? So many people 2 or 3 generations older than her were still waiting in line. How could it be awarded to such a young person? What were her qualifications? They have just entered university and haven't even graduated yet, let alone have any academic qualifications. Isn't this ridiculous? Chapter 149 Original Intention. Immediately, several people in the audience's faces dropped in shock. Clearly, these individuals were all potential contenders for the Chern Prize in Mathematics. I'm delighted to officially recognize our young scholar on this podium. To be able to achieve such remarkable results at such a young age, she truly deserves to be considered the foremost among China's young scholars. Never mind her youth, even those 2 or 3 years older than her could have achieved anything comparable to this young woman's combined achievements. On second thought, it wasn't all that surprising that the award was given to Wu Tong this year. After all, with such dazzling achievements, who else could possibly deserve it? With her in the spotlight, who would truly accept the award? The Chern Prize in Mathematics would also lose its prestigious status, so coveted by countless mathematicians. After all, the International Ramanujan Medal had already been confirmed for Wu Tong. As for qualifications, what did they matter in the face of such achievements? Soon, the audience, having recovered from their surprise, burst into applause. Gradually, more and more people joined, spreading from front to back, the applause resounding like thunder. Academician Shen surveyed the expressions of the audience. Some were happy for Wu Tong. This was undoubtedly due to the Peking University leadership, while others were jealous. Fortunately, no one was completely confused and had the sense to react without losing their composure or causing trouble. Originally, the Chinese Mathematical Society had been hesitant about whether to award Wu Tong a prize this year. While Wu Tong had outstanding achievements, she was still too young and had virtually no experience. Even with a Peking University faction's strong recommendation, it was unlikely to convince the public and would likely cause considerable controversy. Many board members suggested that Wu Tong's youth meant she could be awarded a few years later. However, many scholars approaching the age limit would miss out if they missed the current one. Academician Shin himself had strongly advocated for the award going to Wu Tong. He said that being over the age limit and constantly running in the same race could only mean that his academic achievements weren't significant enough. The Chern Prize in Mathematics is awarded to scholars who have made significant contributions to mathematics, not to a group of mathematicians sitting in a row and awarding prizes based on age. While they were still engaged in heated discussions, a message came from above: we should select talents regardless of their background. This sealed the fate of Wu Tong as the Chern Prize in Mathematics went to her. Wu Tong looked toward the stage in surprise, finally understanding the reason for Dean Pan's strange smile. She hadn't expected that, besides a presentation, such a significant honor would be bestowed upon her at this conference. The Chern Prize in Mathematics had never been awarded to a scholar under 30, let alone one who was only 2 years over 30. It had never occurred to her. Professor Zhou gestured to invite him. Wu Tong, it's time to come up and receive your award. The faculty members around him all looked honored. This was the jewel of the Peking University School of Mathematics, the pride of Peking University. Professor Wen, the recent winner of the Hua Award, gently patted Wu Tong. Well done. The girls from Peking University have truly done a great job. Today, it's the women of Peking University who are taking the lead. Wu Tong finally woke up from her dream, bowed gently to the faculty and staff around her, and walked down the red carpet to the podium, her heart pounding with excitement at the honor. This was her first national award she had personally accepted. Then, Mr. Chiu announced the second winner, Professor Yuan from the Institute of Mathematics and Systems Science of the Chinese Academy of Sciences, also known as Academician Yuan. He was certain to be elected as an academician this year, another truly deserving and powerful recipient. Congratulations, Wu Tong, Mr. Chiu said with a kind smile. Receiving the medal and certificate from Mr. Chiu, Wu Tong struggled to suppress her excitement and thanked him. You're welcome. This is a well-deserved honor. I'll look forward to seeing you on the international stage again. Continuing to sing the miracles of youth, she received her Fields Medal, becoming the youngest Fields medalist ever. Congratulations, Mr. Yuan. After presenting the awards, Mr. Chiu smiled and said to the two new Chern Prize winners, please share your feelings at this moment. Professor Yuan, please go first, Wu Tong said politely, respectfully. Then I'll be so bold as to give you a taste. Professor Yuan, also a humorous man, nodded to Wu Tong before stepping forward to deliver his acceptance speech. Perhaps having anticipated this, Professor Yuan's acceptance speech was brilliant, passionate, and deeply moving. After Professor Yuan's brief remarks, it was Wu Tong's turn to perform. Stepping forward to the center of the stage, Wu Tong stood in the spotlight. Having previously presented at the Hydra International Congress of Mathematicians, he wasn't overly nervous. She took a deep breath, studying her expression. With unrepressed excitement, she spoke, Professor Yuan's exemplary performance has put me under immense pressure. But 1,000 words can be reduced to one. I thank my alma mater, Shanghai University, for its nurturing of me, and the Chinese Mathematical Society for its trust and recognition. I will remain true to my original aspiration, forge ahead, and continue striving for greater achievements in the great cause of mathematics. Without exaggerated performance or lengthy speeches, Wu Tong delivered her acceptance speech in simple, unadorned words, her first foray into the domestic podium, where she immediately earned a spot among the top performers. Watching the 17-year-old girl deliver her acceptance speech, the audience couldn't help but reflect. Even though heroes have always emerged from youth, this young woman is incredibly young. At 17, she's already achieved something others might not even reach at 70. If the standards for various awards were to be judged according to her standards, the bar would undoubtedly be raised infinitely, leaving many looking up to her but unable to reach her potential. They felt a sense of unease. Should they now be thankful that Wu Tong is just a special case? Thunderous applause erupted once again. Never forget your original aspiration. These 4 words have ignited the passion of countless people embarking on the path of mathematics. Mathematics is pure, and the mathematical community should be pure too. It shouldn't be overshadowed by so-called seniority, academic cliques, and other negative influences. Mathematics should remain a pure land. Pan Wenhua, Zhou Wenping, and other representatives from Peking University gazed approvingly at the stage. Their Peking University students had grown into a shining force, a dazzling presence. You truly are the pride of Peking University. This is even more gratifying than when I won this award 2 years ago. Zhou Wenping smiled with satisfaction. He wasn't young to receive this award, having barely scraped by, so there wasn't much to be proud of. Your words make those of us who haven't even touched a medal feel ashamed to see anyone. Pan Wenhua, a full-grown man, joked cheerfully. Having received the news in advance and having witnessed Wu Tong accept the honor on stage, the atmosphere was naturally even more exhilarating and proud. Peking University now has another Chen Award winner. The youngest Chen Medal winner in history has been born. He belongs to their Peking University and may even become the youngest Fei Medal winner in the future. They are proud of this. Chapter 150 Convinced. Amidst a chorus of scholars, filled with mixed emotions, pride, admiration, envy, and resentment, the conference concluded, with the two most prestigious awards, the Hua and Chen prizes, already decided. To say there wasn't a single person present who wasn't convinced was unconvinced. Money is something everyone appreciates, let alone the outcome of such a coveted prize. But what good is it to be unconvinced, unless they can also produce such significant achievements? Reporters allowed into the venue captured the momentous scene, the sound of shutter clicks incessant, especially when Wu Tong accepted his award, the room ablaze with flashes. Even as the opening ceremony concluded, the crowds clamored for the day's winners, the two grand prize winners. Wu Tong felt he wasn't a celebrity, didn't need the publicity, and wasn't used to the boisterous interviews. Furthermore, Ku worried about the increased risk of a crowd and the mixed crowd. So, before the meeting ended, Wu Tong said goodbye to the teachers and left first, waiting in the car. As soon as the meeting concluded, she was escorted by Ku, and the two nimbly and quickly left the scene before the crowd gathered. Watching Wu Tong's agile figure, the teachers smiled and exclaimed, "How wonderful it is to be young." However, despite Wu Tong's quick exit, her newsworthiness was undeniable. She still garnered widespread media coverage, and soon, astonishing headlines appeared on major news websites. She is China's youngest Chen Medal winner, a groundbreaking record. 17-year-old prodigy wins the Chen Medal, China's highest honor in mathematics. Instantly, this grand news was flooded across the internet by enthusiastic netizens, who were following the news from all angles. A barrage of exclamations flooded the comment sections of major media outlets. The most common expression was the constant flooding of exclamation marks, expressing shock beyond words, and the only way to express respect. After a long wait in the car, Pan Wenhua and his group finally returned and boarded. As soon as they climbed aboard, Pan Wenhua teased Wu Tong with a smile, "You young people are so nimble and quick, but you've left us old folks at the conference hall surrounded by the media." Seeing this, the media outlets decided they couldn't capture Wu Tong, so they just capture her teachers. They had to get their reports out as soon as possible. "You're still sharp," Wu Tong chuckled. Could she have tricked the two deans into this? Professor Zhou gently pointed at Pan Wenhua from afar. "You've been saying that, old man, for 20 years, ever since I first joined this school. You're still in your prime. If you just pull back the corners of your happy face, someone might believe you're talking about sadness. I bet the neighbors are getting jealous, wishing they could be with you, to take your place." The dean must have been incredibly happy to be surrounded by the media. "Comrade Zhou, it's not very kind to tear down the stage." However, he was genuinely happy. There were 4 winners of the Hua and Chen prizes, and the Peking University School of Mathematics took 2, making them the biggest winners. Shouldn't we be happy? As the dean of the Peking University School of Mathematics, receiving such an honor during his tenure, he had to be delighted and proud. Ha ha ha! Suddenly, Lang Lang's laughter echoed in the car. There was actually a banquet after the opening ceremony. But none of the people in the car were particularly interested, nor did they intend to take advantage of the opportunity to socialize too much and enjoy the boisterous atmosphere of toasting and drinking. They agreed to leave. That evening, the family, having returned home in high spirits, saw Wu Tong's medal and certificate, as well as the online buzz surrounding his award. They were all beaming with joy, their faces filled with pride. It's a pity this is in Beijing. If this were back home, I'd have set off tens of thousands of fireworks and firecrackers in front of the door to congratulate Tong, Jin Yuan said with a hint of regret. Jin Yongqing examined the metal in his hand, eager to scrutinize it micron by micron with a magnifying glass. Tong, you should have called us sooner. Playing outside wasn't as important as coming back to share the joy with Tong. The metal was there, and it wasn't going away. It was a rare family outing, and they'd already come all this way. It was better to have a good time. Wu Tong smiled silently. Her excitement had already washed over her at the conference, but now her joy was even greater because she was bringing pride and honor to her family. She wanted to be the glory of her family, and she was already fulfilling that promise. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon on the 7th, Wu Tong quickly adjusted her appearance and moved backstage. After hearing the host's invitation, she walked steadily to the podium. A staff member helped her open the PowerPoint presentation. Looking down, the audience was already packed, far more than she had expected. Her presentation seemed to have far surpassed her expectations. She had initially assumed that this presentation wouldn't offer any new developments, merely a rehash of previously published material, lacking much freshness or interest. Wu Tong clearly overlooked the allure of being the youngest Chen medalist. Celebrity is a powerful motivator. Who among the attendees wouldn't want to hear a presentation from someone who might one day become the youngest Philippine medalist? Wu Tong's paper is so insightful that understanding it would be difficult without a certain level of expertise. Now, with Wu Tong personally presenting and explaining it, I'm embarrassed to admit it, but this is truly a rare learning opportunity. Wu Tong began by simply thanking the attendees for attending her presentation, then jumped straight to the point. While studying the twin prime conjecture, I felt the need for a tool to solve the difficult problem at hand. I repeatedly researched previous proofs of the properties of prime numbers, constantly drawing inspiration from their guidance. Standing on the shoulders of giants, I was inspired, and when I tackled the polygnat conjecture, I developed this tool. I call the method I proposed the infinite group proof method. It focuses on the process of studying the infinity of prime numbers, making complex problems clear and simple. This was Wu Tong's first formal presentation to national mathematicians. Speaking at a moderate pace, Wu Tong outlined her considerations, meticulously explaining the core concepts and applications of the infinite group proof method. Wu Tong's expression was calm, her demeanor extraordinary, and her grand demeanor revealed itself. The detailed and solid content of her presentation truly impressed those who understood it. Most of those who had been dissatisfied yesterday, except for those who were truly biased, were completely convinced today. As expected of a once-in-a-century genius, they're truly inferior to this underage girl who can still be called a child. The caliber of Peking University, the world's top scholars, truly opened their eyes. Before, they were just frogs in a well. Attending my nephew's back-to-school class meeting on his behalf. 2 more chapters to go, but I'll send them up later. Thank you all for your support. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.